This feudal lord is highly scientific. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 301, Mr. Noble's Doubts. Only 3 days. Bei Guang's expression became more serious. He picked up the book with Knight Training Method in fast language, and then walked in front of the Skull Knight with an indifferent expression, drew his sword, and pointed at the Skull Knight's throat. Your life is mine now, and I can kill you at any time. Lin Ke nodded with satisfaction, and his body changed back from the true form of the flame demon, and signaled to Ender, let's go. Bei Guang is indeed a talented person who can help him manage the fast plane in the future. As for the fast plane, it is not his now. Just kidding. I, Lin Ke, have money, and my father-in-law is the Emperor Wumian. The fast plane is one of the collections of the Emperor Wumian. When the time comes, pay for it. The unique products of fast are first the law medium, and second the plants and animals. Lin Ke's future development plan cannot do without fast, and must be taken now, just to get a little interest for the revenge of Teacher Orth. Nassing, Azanan territory. An old farmer finished a whole day of work diligently. At this time, he was drinking the newly produced Lucky Flower milk tea in the Great Wilderness territory and watching the live broadcast at the announcement office. Working until 5 o'clock, watching 2 hours of live broadcast and going home. This has become a habit for many of them in the past few months. Is Master Lin Ke still writing a book today? No, I'm writing a song. I really want Miss Sophie's voice. But that book Notre Dame de Paris is really good. I don't know when Master Lin Ke will draw the comic book Cayman. The old farmers sat in front of the announcement office. Some of them were eating black bread, some were drinking milk tea, and chatting in groups of 3 or 5. Since Lin Ke promulgated the Agricultural Act and land reform regulations and other territory laws in the Azan territory in the early years, the lives of these farmers and civilians have become better and better. Recently in the live broadcast, their master Lin Ke did nothing, unlike before when he punched the gods and kicked the master, but continued to write books, paint and compose music. They didn't care. There were so many people anyway. Watching the live broadcast was secondary. The main thing was to get together and brag and chat. The old farmer holding the Lucky Flower milk tea found a place to sit down and took 2 sips of milk tea, which attracted the envy of another old farmer next to him. Furthermiss, is this the milk tea from Dahuang? I heard it's very sweet. A farmer next to him said enviously, his eyes wide open. In addition to him, several old farmers next to him were also like this, staring straight at it and swallowing their saliva. The old farmer named Furthermiss chewed the milk jelly in his mouth and grinned. It's not bad. Where did you come from? The old farmer next to Furthermiss asked again, how come you are so rich? Although the lives of the old farmers are much better than before, they have only gone from being hungry and poorly clothed to barely having enough food and clothing to having a little more than enough. They also have to save money to get a chance to live in Dahuang City, and then their descendants will become citizens of Dahuang. In all of Nassing, only Azanan has such treatment. If you want to live in Dahuang City from other places, you have to go through layers of selection. Money? It's free. Photomis was stunned for a moment, then pointed to the north of the city. There is a new temple of Mr. Noble, and it is said that you can get a cup of milk tea if you become a shallow believer. What? An old farmer next to him widened his eyes, and so did several people next to him. Several farmers looked at each other, then jumped up from the ground in an instant, and ran towards the north of the city. Slow hands, no more. While in the original place, Photomis drank 2 more sips of milk tea with a smile in her eyes, and shook her head proudly without attracting attention. Only the ancients know that Photomis is the name of Mr. Noble's god. The method that Earl Lin Ke taught me is really useful. Photomis was secretly grateful in her heart. Lin Ke not only taught Mr. Noble how to change the scope of his priesthood, but also taught him how to spread faith. The simplest sentence, it doesn't cost money anyway, just believe it a little. This is the most basic, and then Lin Ke gave Earl Noble a hint. When a person believes and becomes a shallow believer, he can give an egg. If this person pulls another person, he will give each of the 2 people an egg. This way, one person spreads it to 10, 10 spread it to 100. It's simply too scary. And it is said that there are also faith spreading strategies such as 10 people buying in groups and 100 people bargaining. It's just a simple means, and Mr. Noble, who has not been able to save money for hundreds of years, feels that his faith has broken through a level, including the truth that only by becoming the bottom can you better understand the bottom, know what the bottom needs, and gain faith, which was also told to him by Lin Ke. Unfortunately, the more people believe, the more Mr. Noble lacks money. Thousands of years of savings invested in it are still a bottomless pit. Now, Mr. Noble owes Janelko, who wants to be a financial goddess in the future, millions. All this money was paid by Lin Ke. It must be said that Mr. Noble is now Lin Ke's iron ally. Looking at Lin Ke, who was writing furiously in the live broadcast, Mr. Noble liked him, no matter how he looked at him. And at this moment, the godhead in his soul space suddenly jumped. A new racial belief. Fortemis, who looked like an old farmer, raised her eyebrows, and her consciousness sank into the soul space. She looked at the godhead growing out of her blood, and probed into it. A young man of humanoid race was seen, with a long dharma behind his head, praying to him. Great nobleman, please give me courage. In the future, I will become a noble with courage. The young man was extremely pious, and seemed to want to get courage from the nobleman. Is this a phaser? Exclamation mark. He knew the phaser people, and the most distinctive thing about them was the dharma behind their heads. Why was he so confused? Wait. The nobleman suddenly opened his eyes, and looked at the live broadcast. In it, Lin Ke was writing a book, which seemed to be called The Count of Monte Cristo. Many people had wondered before why Count Lin Ke wrote books, painted, and composed music during the Noble Review. No matter how good a book is, it cannot improve the score of the Noble Review. It would be bad if he lost at that time. Of course, those who support Lin Ke will naturally defend it, thinking that Lin Ke's behavior has special meaning. And now, Mr. Noble seems to know something. You know, in the plane of phaser, the only one who currently has a positive relationship with Mr. Noble is Count Lin Ke. Repairing the plank road in the open while marching secretly. Count Lin Ke in the live broadcast is just an illusion. It seems that the secret must be hidden well. Mr. Noble narrowed his eyes. He was even a little grateful to Lin Ke, but he didn't know what price Lin Ke paid. However, increased faith is a good thing. So, Mr. Noble Fortemis, who was in a good mood, began to reply to his first believer from phaser. Courage is not something I can give. In fact, my believers, courage is only possessed by the noblest nobles, and you also need to explore it yourself. Chapter 302, Harvest. A big piece of Feiji stone. Phaser, Blue Light Sky City, Noble Grand Temple. Baiguang finished his prayer and stood up. He didn't mean to stay in the temple. As usual, the gods of Phaser with many believers were not so powerful that they could reply to every believer one by one. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many shallow believers. However, Baiguang, who had just stood up, felt different. This is, in Baiguang's perception, a magnificent and huge thought suddenly descended into his consciousness. Courage is not something I can give. In fact, my believers, courage is only possessed by the noblest nobles, and you also need to explore it yourself. It seemed that he said something else, but he didn't hear it clearly. This terrifying will made him unable to raise any resistance. He subconsciously shook his Dharma medium to the left 3 times to show his submission. That will came quickly and went quickly. However, Baiguang felt a special touch in his heart. God actually replied to him. And it was an extremely powerful god. This god didn't say anything like must believe, or faith can get it. Instead, he told him to explore the world, to know himself, and said a lot of things. But he could only hear the first sentence. This is a real god. Sure enough, what Lord Buck said was right. Baiguang was extremely grateful to Buck. At the same time, he himself did not realize that his belief in the god, Mr. Noble, had changed from shallow to pious. Such a sincere god who does not deceive is the god in Lord Buck's mouth. When all things are compared, we can know the pros and cons. In such a comparison, what kind of rubbish are the gods of Father? Baiguang, full of respect and expectation, walked out of the newly built temple, the noble temple of the Blue Light Sky City. Noble is not about status, family, or power. It is about character, inequalities, and morality. Baiguang, who walked out of the temple, felt that he had been baptized. However, he was stopped just after walking a few steps. White light homogeneous, white light homogeneous. A staff member of the city hall ran over, his face somewhat happy. Buck homogeneous is calling you. Okay. Baiguang calmed down and hurriedly ran back. Under the city hall, the original basement of the Temple of Poseidon, Lin Ke and a few people were watching a huge rock that seemed to be covered with coral. The tentacles extending from the boulder were hollow, just right for connecting to the magic medium. This magic medium stone is quite big, Buck homogeneous, very useful. Andora's teacher stroked his long beard and marveled. Yes, this is also the largest magic medium stone I have ever seen. Ms. Yang also nodded in agreement. Such a large piece can produce a lot of magic energy every day. Lin Ke looked at the coral-like magic medium stone in front of him and liked it more and more. This thing is called magic medium stone, which is used to collect free element in the air and then produce magic energy. In other words, this thing can accelerate the accumulation of magic power. After normal meditation, absorbing the magic energy produced by the magic stone, it plays a role in accelerating the accumulation of magic power and saving time. Of course, it is definitely not comparable to the effect of Lin Ke's artifact fragments and rotten wood blocks. It is worthy of being a temple. There are some savings. The sinister man next to him praised, and then his face showed suspicion. Buck homogeneity, do you think there are more treasures that we haven't discovered? The sinister man was a little unsure. According to his previous style, he would do everything possible. As long as there is a little possibility, he will dig 3 feet into the ground. After all, as a wild mage, any tiny resource must be seized, otherwise it will not work at all. But now it is different. The wild mage sinister man can do it, but if the homogeneous sinister man does whatever it takes for a little benefit, then the morale of his subordinates will be scattered. Look for any small resource. Lin Ke narrowed his eyes. There are many fanatics and devout believers who actually have a lot of treasures and wealth in their homes. They have stolen people's property for private use. They are a cancer. That makes sense. A cancer. I like to eradicate a cancer. The crazy woman's eyes were bright. I like it. You like everything. Lin Ke didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and then said, this is the salary we pay to the administrative staff of the city hall. The operating efficiency of a city depends on the basic quality and management level of the personnel. For example, traffic management is the most basic, and there are also price control, administrative management, and legal supervision, all of which are to ensure that the citizens can work and consume safely and efficiently. The magic energy salary that was paid before was all collected by Lin Ke and his team. Most administrative staff are magicians, so they must pay magic energy as salary. After all, they wasted their meditation time to do administrative work for you. You have to compensate them for the consumption they can get from meditation during this time, right? Now that there is such a large piece of magic stone, it can be regarded as a solution to the urgent need. With this Fajishi, we can now rest assured. It must be said that Lin Ke was relieved at this time. He looked at Anda's teacher and the sinister man. You two are of the same nature. The management of these 3 cities will be handed over to you two. There will also be people from the Lord of the Great Wilderness to assist you. Okay, no problem. Anda's teacher and the sinister man agreed at the same time. It also makes sense for Lin Ke to arrange them. Anda's teacher is soft-hearted and his handling method is too weak. But the sinister man is too cruel and treacherous. The two of them staying here just complement each other. Call a follower to mediate, and there should be no need to worry about the operation of the 3 cities. Then, Lin Ke looked at the white light that had just come over. How is Baiguang? Did Mr. Noble bring you some enlightenment? Yes. It's very helpful to me. Speaking of Mr. Noble, Baiguang, who had originally focused on the Feiji stone, came back to his senses, his eyes full of respect. Mr. Noble, that is a powerful and noble god, worthy of the noble family. I even feel that it is much stronger than the previous sea god. Baiguang hesitated. Mr. Noble, are all the gods under the command of the Lord of the Great Wilderness so powerful? Ms. Yang was a little amazed. They all knew that this Mr. Noble was a man of the Lord of the Great Wilderness, similar to his subordinates and followers. Every plane has a highest peak, but before visiting all the planes of the heavens and stars, it can only be said that there is no highest, only higher. Lin Ke smiled. There are mountains outside the mountains, and there are people outside the people. After hearing this truth, everyone was thoughtful. Okay, Bagwang, are your 5,000 flame demon knights ready? This time, you have to let Phaser see the power of the knights. Chapter 303, The Knights of Father. The new legion of the Great Wilderness. Ready. Buck homogeneity. Bagwang replied, supplies are also ready, and the knights and the longbone horses are all ready. Okay, and what about you? Lin Ke looked at Buck homogeneity, and some magicians are unwilling to go with us. Anda's face was a little ugly. They said that they either died in the city or continued to live. Lin Ke raised his eyebrows and looked at Ms. Yang. Although Anda was in charge on the surface, Ms. Yang was the helmsman of the former Riptide Song sect, and Lin Ke ordered Ms. Yang to assist. Without waiting for Ms. Yang to speak, Anda hurriedly said, it's not Ms. Yang's problem. Ms. Yang also used means, but they refused to obey, even what? Lin Ke's face turned slightly cold. They even united, and said that, if they wanted to die, they would kill them all. Anda's face was also not looking good. Hearing this, everyone was silent. Interesting. Lin Ke, who had a stern expression, suddenly laughed. Sure enough, the vested interests don't want to give up. The landlords in the previous life were killed and injured in large numbers under the general trend, and finally disappeared. Didn't they create a prosperous era? However, these magicians are still useful. Unite. Buck Tangayu, I will secretly support a few of them, and then support another group of people. Let them. The sinister man's eyes flashed. Why not just kill? The crazy woman turned into a bear in an instant, roaring beside her, and spitting on the face of Andora's teacher next to her. Andora's teacher smiled and wiped his face, saying, I and they should have heard of each other. Why don't I persuade them, move them with emotion and reason? Follow Buck Tangayu's meaning. Bagwang bowed his head slightly to indicate that he was more like John, who didn't easily express his opinions, but was tolerant. What you said makes some sense, but the best thing at the moment is to break all laws with one force. Lin Ke smiled. There is no need for conspiracy or beheading, and it is not the time to show goodwill. Instead, these magicians should be forced to serve in the battlefield. As for whether they will be cannon fodder or surrender peacefully, it depends on them. Everyone was shocked, but the crazy woman had bright eyes and a big smile on her face. Ha ha ha. Okay, I'll go. You are too weak. Ms. Yang next to her glanced at the crazy woman, and then said to Lin Ke, I'll go. It's my fault that I didn't convince these people before. Okay, bring more people. Lin Ke nodded. If it doesn't work, just call me. Although those magicians do not have the holy domain, there are more than a dozen 9th and 10th level existences. Even if Ms. Yang has learned the true body of the flame demon, she may not be able to resist. Ms. Yang, okay. Lin Ke looked around and said, that's it, and move the magic stone to the hall, and let the staff come to collect the daily magic energy every day. Next, it's the North Wind Giant City. A few days later, the weather gradually cooled down. The three cities including Blue Light Sky City caused a lot of turmoil. Many sects that have occupied certain industries for many years declared destruction, and some stubborn resistance element in them, that is, those magicians, were all captured to become members of the Magic Training Camp. Magic Training Camp, Flame Demon Knights. The Mortal Wild Mage Organization, that is, the two major armed forces under the Mortal Wild Party, marched eastward at the same time. There are only about 3,000 magicians in the Magic Training Camp, and this is the total number of the three cities. The Flame Demon Knights have expanded to 10,000. Add to that the baggage and transportation teams of about 10,000 people, and the armed forces of the three cities including Blue Light Sky City can reach more than 20,000 people. These two teams are also the new forces created by Lin Ke for the Great Wilderness. After all, the Great Wilderness is the Great Wilderness, and Azin is Azin. The family has already been divided, and he is also urging Geros to give birth to another son. If that doesn't work, let Onton Tower's eldest daughter, Lin Ke's sister Little Glutinous Rice, inherit. Da Huang is a blank sheet of paper, a blueprint that he can freely draw and modify. Therefore, Da Huang City, which does not have a deep foundation, now has 2 more armed forces. These 2 armed forces can become the Fasa Corps under Da Huang City in the future. Thinking of this, Lin Ke's heart is also full of pride. He looked at the assembled team, moved the reins of the longbone horse, turned around, and shouted, "All troops attack." Immediately, the mighty team began to move forward. Behind Lin Ke were Ander and other 16 confidants, that is, the original Flame Demon sect, plus the core members of the later Torrent Song sect. Further behind were the magicians of the magic training camp. The thin and weak squeezed in the carriage, pulled by the longbone horse, most of whom were pampered school and sect magicians. The slightly stronger ones, such as the wild mages like the sinister man and the crazy woman, usually ride horses, and if they want to squeeze into the carriage, they can. After the magic training camp, it is the fire demon knights. The knights actually appeared in the history of Phaser. At first, the great magician asked his knights to unite to protect him or deal with his enemies. But later, due to some special reasons, such as the lethality of the knights who united was too frightening, it was cancelled. Now, the people of the Fire Demon Knights are full of energy. Because they are fighting as regular troops, not just followers who can only serve tea and water. But at this moment, in a certain carriage, what do you think of this plan? An old man with white hair and beard was sitting in the innermost part of the carriage, and there were 4 magicians on each side, and the whole carriage was packed. I think it's good. Me too. Second. The other 8 magicians responded one by one, but they looked arrogant and majestic, and their voices were deliberately lowered. That arrogant savage should be taught a lesson. That's right. It's unreasonable to think of ordering us around, like we are commanding hounds. After the magicians seconded the proposal, they complained with gritted teeth, as if the savage they were talking about was an unforgivable villain. Sir Dacia, I think this proposal is very good, but the most important thing is who will initiate it? On the right hand side of the white-haired old man called Dacia was a middle-aged magician in a purple robe. This purple-robed magician and the Dacia magician were the most powerful magicians present, one at level 8 and the other at level 9. Suddenly, the carriage fell into silence. The 9 magicians looked at each other's faces, with a little fear in their instigation and a little expectation in their embarrassment. Finally, in this awkward atmosphere, they ended their secret conversation today. They almost missed the opportunity after hurrying. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304 Bright Tulips. New Discovery. Do you still want to cause a mutiny in the whole army and then escape? At the front of the team, Lin Ke smiled disdainfully. The long-term pampered life has made these magicians lose their vigilance. The carriage is equipped with one magic monitoring eye after another, which can collect visual and sound, and the monitors are one wild magician after another. Now in the eyes of many wild magicians and mortals who have become knights, Lin Ke is a godlike existence. Liberated their identities, allowing them to live freely, and support themselves without having to serve others. It's just monitoring a few pampered magicians. People living at the bottom have all kinds of means. They are all Lin Ke's eyes and ears. It's just that the whole army has marched for 2 days, and those magicians didn't dare to rebel. Or, these magicians are almost falling apart. In the past, they would not choose a carriage as a way of travel. Even if they chose it, it would be a sightseeing style, not this kind of marching style. This is because they can take a carriage. Although the carriage is bumpy, it is better than riding a horse or walking. Many knights and wild mages walk to maintain the strength of the longbone horses. The first day alone exhausted these magicians, and they didn't even have the energy to meditate, let alone rebel. The second day was even more exhausted. The wild mages were better, and the knights were full of energy. Buck is of the same nature, and in terms of spiritual will, knights are indeed better. Walking at the forefront of the army, and I had to admit that what Lin Ke said before was correct. That is, magicians should also have a strong physique. Otherwise, if there is a chance, such as when the magic power is used up, they can't even walk. However, in just 3 days of marching, and are also discovered Buck's toughness. Although some knights were not tired, they were not as lively as Lin Ke. Even Lin Ke could meditate while walking on the back of the long-bone horse. Lin Ke, who was originally level 12, had an even more unfathomable aura. You know, Lin Ke's bottleneck is level 18. This means that, as long as he keeps meditating, he can keep advancing. Of course, it's not that easy after level 15. Lin Ke sorted out his thoughts. Level 15, level 18, level 20, level 21. These are the 4 bottlenecks. After level 15, those who follow the path of gods, if they have gods they believe in, can change from priests to great priests. At level 18, they condense divinity and become divine creatures. At level 20, they ignite the condensed divinity to form divine fire. If they can't ignite the divine fire, they will die. At level 21, if they can condense the divine fire into a godhood, they can become gods and form priesthoods according to their characteristics. If not, there will be opportunities to condense later, but the more they condense, the more likely they are to be assimilated by their priesthoods, and become gods of faith without personality and humanity. People who follow the legendary career path are similar. After level 15, they can fly, and they are qualified to be called masters. After the master, at level 18, they become powerful epic masters, and every master is epic. At level 20, both gods and legendary paths can be called stars. People on the professional path, after understanding the rules, can completely transform from masters to masters. For example, forger, forging master forger. After level 20, at level 21, you can completely master one or several rules, and become a legend. The birth of each legend is a legend worth singing and praising. Therefore, at level 15, whether you are on the path of gods or legends, there is a hurdle. It is called elementization or rulerization. At level 15, the body will undergo a huge change. The power of various professionals originally stored in the blood will flow into the body and cast a new body. At this time, if a stronger person or a richer person, he may choose to make a law affinity body, and ordinary strong people can only rely on absorbing element to become an elemental body. Lin Ke thought about it carefully and felt a little overwhelmed. It would be great if Aofu was still there. As a person who has been through it and one of Lin Ke's closest people, Aofu's guidance to Lin Ke is multifaceted, and he is also experienced. However, thinking of Aofu, Lin Ke's expression turned cold again. This time, the Ratman, as the main culprit, must bear Lin Ke's anger after Aofu's death. The same is true for the Wild Boars, as accomplices. In the Holy Life Alliance, Lin Ke dared not, and could not start a war lightly. But in the Noble's deliberation, Lin Ke could do whatever he wanted. So this time Lin Ke chose to develop to the east. Destroy those Ratmen and Wild Boars before they develop. Looking back at the sky, the figures of big birds were looming. This is the sack bird. There were some shadows on it. They were the people from the Great Wasteland City who came later, such as Lin Ke, Sophie, etc. With their level, Lin Ke could fight a few times, even if he met a god, when he went to the Northwind Giant City this time. Buck homogeneity, what are you looking at? At this time, Baiguan came over and asked curiously. I'm looking at the mountain and the sky. Lin Ke came back to his senses, and smiled at Baiguan. Mountains? Baiguan couldn't help wondering, where did the mountains come from in the sky? Everyone's attention was also diverted. Gods, it's the mountains that are pressing on our path of freedom and equality. Lin Ke smiled and said the treasonous words. In fact, he has said enough of this kind of words recently. If it were peacetime, Lin Ke could have been struck to death by a thunderbolt from a passing god. But now, the gods are busy with their own affairs, so how can they care about him talking here? Mountains. I like mountains. Oh no, that's not right. I don't like them. The crazy woman was crazy, and her physical strength was pretty good. At this time, she didn't even look tired at all. Whether they like it or not, they dare not stop us, because we have the Lord of the Great Wilderness. And aside, while they were chatting, some green appeared in front of the road, as if it had been rendered. There are fewer mountains and less water in the west, but as they approached the east, the green became more. It seems that we are not far from the Northwind Giant City. Lin Ke looked into the distance and could vaguely see the woods in the distance and the shadows of some mountains. Casteling. Is that a branch of Casteling? In 3 days, it should be almost there. Someone said. Lin Ke silently calculated and it should be almost there. But now there are no traces of people in the suburbs, and there are few animals. They don't have enough dry food. Let's go to that forest to see if there is any game or anything. I'm almost vomiting after eating milk berries. Lin Ke pointed to the distance. Go, go, go. The crazy woman laughed, and everyone looked expectant, even Ender's eyes lit up. They just need to rest. So the army went to the forest a little south of the front. In fact, the North Wind Giant City is also a little southeast, and there is no detour. When they learned that they were going to the southeast, this order greatly encouraged everyone. You know, they have been marching for 3 consecutive days. There is no such thing as setting up camp. If you are tired, you can sleep on horseback. Other things like eating, drinking, defecating, and urinating cannot take up too much time. Otherwise, how could they get close to the North Wind Giant City so quickly? The army marched quickly and soon came to this large forest, and then dispersed to hunt for food. As the top leader, he did not have to go hunting himself, which was a privilege he still had. He sat down to rest, and then looked at the trembling magicians not far away. These magicians were extremely grateful that they were finally saved. However, when they saw Lin Ke and others not far away, their faces sank again. These magicians were about to fall apart. At this time, let alone rebellion and escape, there was no need to think about it. Some magicians had secretly surrendered to Lin Ke. As the most dissatisfied magician, Daisha was very angry, and so were several magicians next to him. Soon, they saw a middle-aged magician in purple robes trotting to Lin Ke, bowing his head and greeting him with a smile on his face. So the magician's eyes became more angry. Oh, look, that's a traitor. Daisha's tone was full of hatred. Because of that purple-robed magician, he thought he had a solid ally before. This traitor surrendered to the cruel and barbaric disgusting wild wizard Buck. This traitor lost his dignity, but what did he get in return? Daisha's suppressed voice was full of contempt and disdain. Humph, what he got in return was just a 4-seater carriage, 2 more pieces of unpalatable pork every day, and 1 magic power every day. However, he couldn't help swallowing his saliva while speaking, and the other magicians looked at him strangely. Listen, what are you talking about? Daisha also felt that it was inappropriate, so he said, everyone, we are almost at the North Wind Giant City. When they fight to the death, we will find a chance to escape. But Sir Daisha, running away is also an act of losing dignity. A young magician raised a question. Daisha took a look and found that this young magician was a magic apprentice of a 5th level magician who had just been promoted to a 1st level magician recently. If it was just a 5th level magician, Daisha would not care about it. After all, it was just a lower level magician, and a 1st level magician was even more so. However, the wife of this 5th level magician is the sister of a 3rd level magician, and the teacher of the 3rd level magician's brother is the apprentice of a 9th level magician. As both are 9th level magicians, and the weaker ones among the 9th level magicians, Daisha naturally knows that he cannot offend them casually. As a noble and elegant magician, you may not know 9th level magic, but you must understand the ways of the world. So Daisha said with a relaxed expression, running away will lose dignity, but we are running away for the sake of re-emergence in the future, so it is not considered a loss of dignity. The young 1st level magician nodded, not quite understanding, but did not continue to ask. So Daisha looked around at everyone again and continued, everyone, think about it, if it weren't for Buck, we should be lying now. However, before he finished speaking, a wild magician came over and shouted to them, Group 8, it's your turn to get dry food. Rest for 1 night today, and Lord Buck will give everyone meat in the evening. Get dry food. So, the magicians who had originally listened to Daisha's words all stood up and ran towards the place where dry food was distributed. Hearing that there would be meat in the evening, 1 or 2 magicians couldn't help but shout out, long live Lord Buck. Seeing this, Daisha couldn't help but feel a little powerless. What's the point of rebelling? Just as he was distracted, the people around him all ran away, just for a few pieces of roasted milk berries. However, when thinking of roasted milk berries, Daisha felt that his stomach began to grumble, and a large amount of saliva began to secrete in his mouth. So he gritted his teeth and ran over. He was going to eat and drink his fill before continuing to say bad things about Buck. If he didn't eat now, it was very likely that these unreliable teammates would eat his share. Just as the army settled down to rest for the night, a team of scout knights were reporting the situation to Lin Ke. Buck is homogeneous, that is a very powerful magic fluctuation. We suspect those monsters are guarding some treasure. A scout team leader was reporting to Lin Ke. Oh, treasure? Lin Ke raised his eyebrows. How powerful are those monsters? This? I don't know either. As a knight, the captain cannot practice like a magician. He is still a mortal in essence. Lin Ke also reacted, so he asked about the location, and then led the crazy woman and others in that direction. The reconnaissance team is usually 4 or 5 kilometers ahead of the army, responsible for investigating the situation. When Lin Ke and his friends arrived here, they found that more than a dozen monsters were confronting each other, surrounding a small flower. Light tulip. Seeing the magical plant, Lin Ke raised his eyebrows. This thing exists in the Great Wasteland City, and it has been developed and can be mass produced. A large area of it has been planted outside the Great Wasteland City. Holy flower of light! Ms. Yang exclaimed when she saw the light tulip. What is this? Lin Ke asked, pretending not to understand. The holy flower of light is a flower that contains a large amount of light element. This flower can greatly enhance the perception of our magicians. Ms. Yang suppressed her excitement and explained, this holy flower of light, which is already at level 5, can enhance the perception of a level 10 legendary magician by more than 10%. The perception of magicians? Lin Ke nodded thoughtfully. The perception of magicians helps the phaser people perceive and use element, but the effect is not so obvious. I didn't expect that the tulip of light can actually enhance perception. Now in Nassing, it seems that only the Great Wasteland City is mass producing tulips of light, right? In this case, we can ask the city hall to mass produce more and use them for phaser in the future. Then let's take this holy flower of light. Lin Ke looked at the monsters. These monsters are extremely ferocious and dare not easily start a battle with each other. There is even no trace of other beasts within a radius of 100 meters. They are obviously scared away. However, in Lin Ke's eyes, these monsters are fat and strong. They look quite delicious. Chapter 305 New Mount. Roar. The monsters saw Lin Ke approaching, and they bared their teeth and growled. They could vaguely feel that Lin Ke's aura was very strong. Unlike Nassing, these monsters all had magic media, and they all aimed at Lin Ke, trying to sense something carefully. Pretty smart. Unfortunately, Lin Ke didn't want to let them go. After eating milk berries for so long, he also wanted to change his taste. Bright tulips were not so important. After all, there were many in the wilderness, so there was no need to rush in the next 2 days. Wind binding. The power of scholar in Lin Ke's body surged, and the manifestation was the boiling of magic element. Feeling Lin Ke's power, the demonstrators who were originally protesting suddenly looked terrified. Lin Ke was already a level 14 existence at this time. Level 14, scholar, level 10 knight. His memories of his previous life represented countless feedbacks, so he had no bottleneck at all. And his strong talent meant an extremely fast training speed. At this time in phaser, Lin Ke could completely fight against a level 19 existence. If he used all his means, he could also touch a level 20 existence. The monsters in front of him were all level 5, 6, 7, and 8. They looked good to phaser, but not so good to Lin Ke. Level 3 magic, wind binding. Under Lin Ke's control, the blue wind bundles quickly wrapped around the bodies of the monsters like ropes. Roar. Ah. These monsters roared one after another, and the element of fire and lightning on their bodies fluctuated. But in the light blue whirlwind belt, they could not make any waves. Submit, or forget it, I'm hungry. Lin Ke wanted to ask out of habit, but then he touched his stomach. The power of habit is terrible. Lin Ke used to be a good young man, but now he has been exaggerated by Nassing for a long time, and is used to standing in the perspective of a conqueror. However, just as Lin Ke said he would surrender, before he took action, one of the bull monsters with fire spewing from its nostrils knelt down. The meaning was obvious. It surrendered. Fuck, so fast. Lin Ke couldn't do it anymore. He just said 2 words, and the demon bull actually knelt down. What should he do? In order to prevent other magic beasts from kneeling down, Lin Ke directly knocked them out and threw them to the people who came with him. Then he stood by and waited for the tulips of light to bloom. The 2 dark eyes of the magic bull turned around, and it was still kneeling. It was obvious that it was very intelligent. It was a level 7 magic beast, but it had good intelligence. It seemed that this magic bull had good blood. Come here. Lin Ke waved his hand. The magic bull could really understand Lin Ke's facile language. It raised its head and tiptoed over. Lin Ke was more than 1.8 meters tall. When the bull stood up, it was taller than Lin Ke. It was tall and strong, but it tiptoed and looked very strange. Your senses are very sensitive. Lin Ke smiled and naturally put his hand on the magic bull's head. It was furry and felt that the bull was just a calf. He was not afraid of being hurt. This bull was a fire element, and all attacks coming to him could only be transformed into nutrients. Moo. The demon bull mooed. The overlord of the forest and the tyrannical existence in the past really mooed like a calf at this time. Because the demon bull could feel that the person in front of him had extremely terrifying power. If the demon bull boasted that his power was as strong as a volcano, then in its perception, the power of the human in front of it was like an endless magma hell. It could spray a devastating attack, while the person in front of it could directly destroy the world. The difference between them was too big. It didn't know why it had this feeling, but its sixth sense had saved it countless times. This time, it was also ready to follow the decision of its heart. You have a good bloodline. I'll give you a chance to be my temporary mount. Lin Ke looked into the demon bull's eyes. How about it? He was actually very interested in cattle. Asan Gila Ranch raised a lot of Gila cattle. These Gila cattle not only provided Asan with sufficient milk, but also provided powerful mounts. Before the arrival of the Link era, the main mount of Asan's army in the Geros era was the Gila bull. Therefore, Lin Ke actually had a little bit of a favorable impression on the bull-like monsters. Since this demon bull was so clever, and the bone horse was too slow to charge, he decided to change his mount. Moo the demon bull seemed to understand Lin Ke's words, and nudged Lin Ke's hand with its furry head. The tulips of light had just bloomed, and Lin Ke casually lifted up the tulips of light along with the soil underneath, and then climbed onto the back of the demon bull. He used wind magic to hold up the tulips of light with soil and flowers in one hand, and connected his virtual magic medium with the magic medium of the demon bull with the other hand. Moo. The demon bull let out a long moo, and spit out burning flames from its nostrils, and then waved its limbs, and ran in the direction indicated by Lin Ke. The speed of the demon bull's running was not actually very fast, but he said that the huge body had a terrifying power that shook the earth and mountains when it ran. Lin Ke even felt that if he needed, the demon bull could erupt all of a sudden, just like a volcano. It's an excellent mount. Lin Ke felt the stable and slightly grooved back of the demon bull under him, and felt that this demon bull was better as a mount than the Gila bull. In fact, none of the tribes in the Great Wasteland City, such as the bloodthirsty iron bull, the green water python, and the lava lion, are suitable as mounts. I have found a treasure. I can take it back as a breeding bull and mate it with the Gila bull, to see how it goes. Lin Ke slowly stroked the fur of the demon bull, thinking secretly in his heart. But the demon bull felt the hair on its neck suddenly stand up, as if it was stared at by some terrifying monster, and even felt a chill between its 2 hind legs. It looked around in confusion, and the feeling brought by the sixth sense came and went quickly. Thinking that perhaps it was an old enemy, other monsters were coveting its body, it relaxed again. Carrying a big boss on its back, it was not afraid. Thinking like this, Lin Ke rode the demon bull back to the camp. At this time, the camp was in full swing preparing for life and cooking. The roasted milk berries were torn into pieces and boiled to become porridge like food. In addition, there was a group of knights dismembering the monsters that Lin Ke had just captured. Those monsters were killed while they were fainting, which made the magic bull under Lin Ke tremble. There were also some monsters with hard fur and leather armor, and they were dismembered with the help of several wind magicians. Looking at these terrifying monsters in the past, whether it was the magic training camp or the flame demon knights, everyone's eyes lit up. When Lin Ke came over, Ms. Yang exclaimed, "Black Gold Volcano Magic Bull." Chapter 306 Huge Market Demand. "Master Buck, you actually tamed the Black Gold Volcano Demon Bull." Ms. Yang's surprised look was completely different from her usual calm look. She even stopped calling him master and called him master. Hearing Ms. Yang's exclamation, some magicians seemed to have thought of something, and their eyes looking at Lin Ke's mount also changed, becoming much hotter. The Black Gold Volcano Demon Bull's dark eyes also flashed a hint of pride. "What's wrong? Is it very precious?" Lin Ke raised his eyebrows. He had never heard of this breed in Nassam. Ms. Yang felt that she had lost her composure, so she could only nod slightly at this time, and her aura shook around and then retracted. The aura of the Holy Land magician shook the minds of some people around, and they began to continue doing their own things. Ms. Yang then approached Lin Ke and whispered, "Buck is of the same nature. The Black Gold Volcano Demon Bull has an ancient legend." As she spoke, Lin Ke got off the bull's back and listened to Ms. Yang's introduction. This Black Gold Volcanic Demon Bull was originally just an ordinary race, with extremely rare numbers. It is said that the blood it shed actually came from outside of Phaser. There are not many records and famous ones in history, and the strongest one is the first one. The first one is the current god of volcano, and it is also the origin of the name of the Black Gold Volcanic Demon Bull. It is said that tens of thousands of years ago, when the first Black Gold Volcanic Demon Bull arrived, all the volcanoes in Phaser erupted together, which was extremely terrifying. At that time, it was because of the suppression of the gods that the ecological extinction did not occur. In the end, this Black Gold Volcanic Demon Bull negotiated with the gods for something, and finally became the god of the volcano. Since then, the god of the sky and the gods have worked together to merge the kingdoms of the gods together, forming a huge magic circle that covers the sky and the sun. Under the protection of this magic circle, no other visitors from outside the domain have come since then. And that magic circle is centered on the god of the sky, and it looks like the clothes of the god of the sky. As for the Black Gold Volcano Demon Bull that appeared later, they were all descendants of the god of volcano. Many of them became servant gods, demigods, and sub-gods. They stirred up the situation in Phaser and eventually joined various pantheons. Ms. Yang felt that those who knew about the existence of the Black Gold Volcano Demon Bull would probably be very tempted. Not only because it was a big name, the most important thing was that the Black Gold Volcano Demon Bull could directly become a holy domain existence after adulthood. Even if the Black Gold Volcano Demon Bull knew nothing since childhood, and could only eat, drink, defecate, and urinate, it would naturally break through to the holy domain when it reached adulthood. This powerful talent means that even an ordinary magician, after contracting this Black Gold Volcano Demon Bull, can gain a powerful partner of the holy domain level when it reaches adulthood, naturally reaching level 11 when it reaches adulthood. Hearing this, Lin Ke was quite surprised. In Nassang, there are many who can reach level 10 or above through natural growth, such as the phoenix, the dragon, and the banshee. After adulthood, they are all at least level 15 or above according to their different bloodline talents. Like the descendants of Emperor Wumian and the 5-colored dragon mother, Heinz is stronger than the other. Anyway, except for Lin Ke, everyone else is a legend. Even Lin Ke, who has been busy eating, drinking, playing, and dating for these years, has upgraded faster than Lin Ke. This is the advantage of race. But in fact, most races cannot be so strong without cultivation. And like the phoenix, if there is no enlightened bloodline, no employed profession, and no powerful skills, it is just a beast with power. The Black Gold Volcano Magic Bull in front of him is already very strong in the current mount system of Dahuang City. There are not many powerful mounts like lava lions and green water pythons. The main ones sold are the bloodthirsty iron bulls, but the bloodthirsty iron bulls are generally only level 5 or 6 when they are adults, and their potential is not great. They are supported by a magic beast king. In addition, there are fernwood gold-eyed wolves raised by the Herbal Research and Development Department, which are even more delicate and precious. In general, Dahuang City has exquisite magic beasts and mounts for sale, as well as mediocre ones, but there are very few products in between. This time, if we catch a few more Black Gold Volcano Magic Bulls and bring them back for breeding, maybe there will be a good effect. If we ask Lika's sister or someone else to come here for a visit and take a volcano god back to plant on a large scale, maybe the black gold volcano magic bull will become a specialty in Signboard of Dahuang City. You know, there are so many nobles, strong men, chiefs, councillors and the like in Naseng. As the main force of the knights, they consume a lot of mounts every year. There is a huge shortage of mounts in the Gila kingdom alone. Thinking of this, Lin Ke couldn't help but touch the black gold volcano magic bull beside him again, and his expression became more gentle. This bull is still a calf, and it will take a few years before it can plant. The black gold volcano magic bull touched by Lin Ke felt a deep chill in his soul again. Here it comes again. The sixth sense. Moo. The black gold volcano magic bull couldn't help but spit out 2 sulfur breaths from its nostrils and leaned towards Lin Ke with some uneasiness. Only when it was with the strongest person, Lin Ke, did the black gold volcano demon bull feel at ease. It thought, fortunately, I surrendered to this powerful human before my enemies found me, otherwise I would have died twice now. The black gold volcano demon bull couldn't help but feel a little fortunate. It felt that the terrifying trembling must come from an enemy who wanted to eat it. Before this enemy found it, its sixth sense made it succumb to the strong man in front of it. At that time, it was still a little unconvinced. After all, it knew how powerful and noble its bloodline was from the information in its bloodline. This is the bloodline of God. Adulthood is the holy domain. However, to chills from the depths of its soul shortly after it surrendered told it. Fortunately, it surrendered to this strong man. Otherwise, it would either die in the fight for the Tulip of Light, or it might be killed and eaten by a more powerful monster predator. Thinking of this, the black gold volcano demon bull couldn't help but get closer to Lin Ke and intimately nudged Lin Ke's hand with its bull head, which was larger than Lin Ke's torso, as if this would make it feel more secure. Lin Ke didn't know what the calf was thinking, so he patted its head and said, "Go play, and be alert at all times." So, this kind of ferocious and powerful beast, well, maybe there are discrepancies in the historical records, but anyway, it is a very rare beast. Ms. Yang finished talking about the information about the black gold volcano bull and was surprised that the one in front of her was so docile, so she sighed that there would be mistakes in historical records. Then she thought about it and reminded, by the way, buck homogeneity, these higher level beasts all appeared in the nearby forest, which is very unusual. Higher level beasts. Lin Ke was stunned, and then he also discovered this blind spot that he had not noticed before. In Phaser, levels 7 to 9 are all called higher level beasts, and generally only some steep and dangerous places where beasts gather can have them. But this is not a dangerous place. Chapter 307 Final Surrender. Is it because there are treasures nearby, or have all the monsters in the Karst Mountains been driven down? Lin Ke discovered this blind spot and began to pay attention to it. Before, he thought that those who were not above level 15 did not need to be taken seriously. After all, they could not beat him. But ants bite elephants in large numbers, and he could not resist, even if a million level 14 monsters united. And now, after Ms. Yang reminded him, Lin Ke found that it was indeed abnormal. This is Phaser. So many high-level monsters in Phaser's cognition gathered in this small forest. It can't be just for that Tulip of Light, right? Only Lin Ke was skilled and bold, so he thought it was normal for these ordinary monsters below level 10 to gather together. As for the reasons, there are nothing more than 2. One is that the Karst Mountain rich in iron ore was discovered and occupied by the rat survivors of the Holy Life Alliance, and all the monsters were driven away so that they could develop the iron ore peacefully. The price of Phaser iron ore sold to Naseng is no different from that of Naseng iron ore, but the labor cost is different. There are miners everywhere here, and there are a lot of them with braids on their heads. Lin Ke even suspected that many star level people came to Phaser, not just to complete the mission. You know, star level people have some power of stars. Stars are synonymous with legends. Many star level people have no hope of promotion. In the days without a future, even the master may not be able to command them. But how many star level people from Naseng came in this time? Lin Ke estimated that many star level people came here just to seek breakthroughs. If you don't break through in a day, you can only be regarded as a little starlight. Breakthrough is a great star. In the long time, the sharpness of these star level people has long gone. What legend is stronger? What god has no potential? Breakthrough, entering a new world, is everything. Therefore, some star level people may seek opportunities to break through the gods and develop faith. On one hand, you can grab resources, and on the other hand, you can develop faith. In the end, if you can become a legend, you will become a legend. If you can't become a legend, you will become a god. If it doesn't work, you can get a lot of resources. It's a good calculation. If it is the holy flower of light, it is unlikely. It is not so attractive to many magic beasts. Ms. Yang answered Lin Ke calmly. It is very likely that the magic beasts in the Karst Mountains have been driven out. Lin Ke nodded slightly, squinted his eyes at the looming mountains in the distance, and waved his hand. Pay attention to vigilance. Let the scouts pay attention. Okay. Ms. Yang replied. Well, you must pay attention to vigilance. Lin Ke emphasized. Those foreign visitors have countless means. Let the comrades be careful. Also, let the purple-robed wizard come to see me, and also, keep an eye on the great wizard Dacia and others. Yes. A few days passed. Lin Ke brought his two armies to the foot of the Karst Mountains. After a few days of getting along, the talents of the magic training camp finally looked a bit good. Looking at the other people in the carriage, Dacia, who is as powerful as a 9th level magician, couldn't help but sigh. The other 8 people in this carriage were the last ones who wanted to resist the Flame Demon King Buck. In the past few days, Dacia tried every possible way, but he couldn't gather any living forces. The Fire Demon King was too cunning and evil. One by one, his companions left him and turned to Buck, the evil devil. How did that devil do it? Those who performed well were given more food, upgraded carriages, and received magic power every day. There was even a purple-robed magician who performed so well that he was received and instructed by the Fire Demon King and was promoted to level 9. Those who performed poorly either remained the same or were demoted. For example, Dacia can only squeeze into a carriage with 8 people in front of him every day. The 9 of them need to be responsible for a lot of dirty and tiring work, and some of the work is even done by entourages and servants. As a powerful 9th level magician, Dacia certainly fought back, but the result was that the hateful Fire Demon King Buck locked his magic power through mysterious means. He can't even commit suicide now. But it was precisely because of what happened during this period that Dacia even felt that his bottleneck, which had remained unchanged for 100 years, had loosened a little. That's why he didn't give in, because the more he didn't give in, the more he felt the bottleneck loosened. The other 8 people probably had similar reasons. Some were shallow believers, but their relatives and friends who were fanatics were killed. Some had support in other places, and were members of a powerful force. In short, none of them gave in. But in other words, a few days ago, 90% of the orthodox magicians in the magic training camp of thousands of people didn't give in. Now there are only a few people who still don't give in, and all the other orthodox magicians have given in. It has to be said that the methods of the Fire Demon King Buck shocked Dacia secretly. Dacia, who pursues magic and socializing, knows little about command and leadership. In the silent march, Dacia didn't know what to say, but just sighed continuously. The faces of the others were not good. Their reasons now are actually similar. The original reasons have been forgotten, and only one is left, which is to break through with the inexplicable breakthrough opportunity. If you reach the destination without breaking through, and don't give in, then the end may follow. The Fire Demon King is the one who wants to overthrow the world. How can a few of them, little magicians, be his opponents? Bang, bang, bang. The carriage that was moving suddenly stopped, and everyone's heart trembled. Have we arrived? Exclamation mark. The magicians immediately became nervous physically and mentally, and one man even jumped out of the carriage directly, obviously going to report. It's better to live than to die. Dacia also opened his eyes, and saw that several people were a little moved, and sighed again in his heart. Dacia wanted to persuade them to obey the Fire Demon King. After all, the others seemed to be still young. As for him, he had been smooth all his life, but now he wanted to be tough. But before he finished speaking, he saw a man get into the carriage. The man was very young, with a smile on his face. When he lifted the curtain, it seemed that he brought all the light into the carriage. Buck. Daisha and the others exclaimed, and then they began to get nervous one by one. Could it be? Could it be that Buck was going to kill and silence him? They are the last unstable factor in the magic training camp. Now that we have reached our destination, we have to deal with them. Everyone, what do you think? Lin Ke looked at the stubborn but clever people in front of him and smiled and said, you think I'm oppressing you and you are resisting, right? Chapter 308 Magicians are born to be noble. No one spoke in the carriage. Several people were nervous and afraid, and beads of sweat flowed down from some of their heads, but no one spoke. Is the Fire Demon King Buck oppressing them? Of course. In the past, they lived a life of luxury. As magicians of a school and sect, they had a noble status. Food, clothing, housing and transportation were all top-notch. But now, several people were squeezed into a carriage, eating hard to swallow food, and their magic power was blocked, just like prisoners. Isn't this oppression? Can't they resist? But no one spoke. If the answer is yes, will this evil and cunning Fire Demon King burn them directly? If the answer is no, what have they been doing these days? Who are they dissatisfied with? How to answer this question became their question, isn't it? Finally, Daisha spoke in a low and hoarse voice. He clenched his fists, and his dirty sticky white beard trembled slightly again. Not just fear or anger or both. Oh. Daisha, I know you. Lin Ke looked at Daisha, his eyes full of smiles. Tell me, how did I oppress you? Hearing the words I know you, even Daisha, who is so proud, couldn't help but feel a little complacent. After all, the man in front of him is Buck Ragnarsson, a powerful man in the Holy Land, the king of fire demons, and the leader of the Vanity Party. There are so many magicians in the magic training camp, but his name Daisha is remembered. However, no matter how proud he is, he still has to say it. Since he has already given up, and doesn't care about life or death, just say it directly. Thinking of this, Daisha straightened his back, and faced Lin Ke's smiling face. I used to wander in the ocean of magic element, seeking the supreme truth, and exploring the mysteries of knowledge. Until you appeared, you led people rudely, barbarically, and unreasonably oppress us like slaves, block our magic, imprison our freedom, and wear down our will. Isn't this oppression? Daisha's voice became louder and louder as he spoke, and finally spit on Lin Ke's face. Seeing this, the other people were like Nassen's sand chicken. This sand chicken is a bit like Lin Ke's quail in his previous life, and is very timid. Not far outside the car, Ms. Yang and the others also heard it. Bai Guang wanted to draw his sword and rush in. In his mind, insulting Lord Buck was equivalent to insulting him. The crazy woman's eyes also flashed with a dangerous light, but she grabbed Bai Guang and said, "Little brother, don't waste your time. Buck will take care of it." This sentence made Ms. Yang raise her eyebrows. She was not as calm as the crazy woman and said, "That's right, we just need to wait and see. I don't remember that Daisha has an arrogant temper. Oh, is this considered oppression?" At this time, Lin Ke's voice sounded slowly, still so unhurried and calm. The people outside felt that Lin Ke was not angry, so they gave up. Well, why not? Daisha was screwed by Lin Ke. Is this not oppression? Lin Ke smiled and shook his head, looking around, and said to Daisha, "I didn't pull you out of the ocean of magic, the exploration of truth, and that, oh, the mystery of knowledge. As far as I know, you were whipping your servant because he didn't see you when he was walking and didn't use the magic medium to salute you." Lin Ke looked at one of the 5th level magicians, and the magician blushed. Then he pointed to the next one. "As far as I know, you were just drunk at that time, and you drank a bottle of milk wine with 100 magic energy. You were chasing that poor wild wizard lady, and both of you were naked. And you, eating is your hobby, so you were wandering in the ocean of appetite at that time. You were lying in the arms of 5 men at that time." Lin Ke looked at them one by one, making these people embarrassed and ashamed, and finally looked at Daisha. "Daisha, do you remember? When I came to see you, you were dancing with those female magicians at the ball, and you were also flirting with a wild wizard lady who was joining the guild for the first time. By the way, you already have 8 wives, right?" After saying this, the carriage fell into silence. "Even so, I got it myself." Daisha, a man with white hair and beard, responded to Lin Ke without blushing or beating his heart. "As an honorable magician, this is my birthright. Honorable magician, innate right. Lin Ke's originally smiling and amiable expression showed a hint of ridicule. You probably don't understand when I tell you about the relationship between rights and obligations. Let me put it simply, you think your rights are innate, then let me ask you, who said that? Who stipulated it? Or do you think so yourself? In Phaser, is there any law that magicians are born noble? The only laws I know are flames can burn, water flows to lower places, etc. These are the laws of the Phaser plane, right? It seems that I have never heard of any god in our Phaser plane being promoted through the law of magicians are born noble. So, what use do you think you can be to us Phaser? Use? Daisha frowned. Magicians are born to be noble. The source of this ideology should be that magicians can feel and touch magic element, right? But so can magic beasts. If so, should magic beasts also be noble? He was thinking about how to refute Lin Ke, but others were already a little shaken. Yes. Who stipulated that magicians must be noble? There is the law of fire, the law of frost, the law of water. But when did it stipulate that magicians must be noble? In the end, Daisha had to say the two words he had never wanted to say, power. That's right. Power. Because magicians are powerful, they can occupy the ruling class. But in this case, Lin Ke is more powerful than Daisha, so he can be more noble than Daisha. So after Daisha said power, he added, power, wisdom and virtue make us noble. After saying that, Daisha's face was full of bitterness, but a few people around him didn't understand. Why did Daisha suddenly feel that he had lost? Haha, you finally know. Lin Ke laughed. That's right. It's because you have strength, wisdom and virtue that you become noble. Not because you are noble that you can have strength, wisdom and virtue. And these three conditions are indispensable. Otherwise you will be a cruel and cunning monster, a lawless tyrant, or an extremely powerful fool. It seems that what you do and what you eat cannot determine whether you are noble. These things are illusory. Only when you are noble can you do what you want and eat what you want. Moreover, in my opinion, your level of nobility may not be as good as some slaves for Phaser. At least those slaves are working diligently and creating insignificant value. And you, who only care about enjoyment and consumption, create very little value. When danger comes, you may not be able to resist external threats. On the contrary, because of the differences in schools and sects, many people with magical talents are excluded, making the number of our strong people in Phaser far less than that of outsiders. As he spoke, Lin Ke pointed outside the carriage and said in a serious voice, in those cities not far away, there are still countless Phasers wailing. Their suffering may be traced back to your words mages are born noble. Now, do you still think you are born noble? Chapter 309 Invention, Group Telescopic Technique. Listening to Lin Ke's words, the people in the carriage breathed a lot heavier. Finally, no one knew who started it, and the 7 people raised their magic cards to Lin Ke one by one, and raised them to the left 3 times. I am willing to surrender. I surrender. Me too. After some arguments, they also understood what Lin Ke meant, and let go of the last bit of pride in their hearts. Finally, only Daisha was left. Daisha looked at Lin Ke's smiling face, and his clenched fists loosened. Me, too. After saying this, he seemed to breathe a sigh of relief and collapse there. Well, I also appreciate your will. Next, let's fight to liberate all of Phaser. Lin Ke laughed. Mortals, wild mages, magicians, gods. Phaser people are originally one, and we should unite even more when facing a great enemy. We must use the external force of the foreign visitors to unify Phaser. He stepped forward and gave these people a hug one by one, including Daisha, and finally smiled before leaving the carriage. Welcome to join the mortal and wild party. After he left, a wave of magic suddenly came from the carriage. Wind magician, Daisha, broke through to the legendary level. The Vanai party has one more legendary magician. We Vanai party have become even stronger. Anda was the happiest, as he was the busiest one on weekdays. Ms. Yang and the others also came closer, their faces full of joy. They all heard what Lin Ke said inside. The Vanai party's strength has never been due to the number of people. Lin Ke was also very happy, but to prevent them from getting lost in this false strength of sufficient personnel, he still warned, the Vanai party is strong, because of our common beliefs and will. Yes, yes. Several other people also joined the chat. Now, the magic training camp has completely belonged to the Vanai party. In addition to the Flame Demon Knights, which had long been controlled by Lin Ke and Bei Guang, this army is now considered a solid block. While chatting, Lin Ke suddenly squinted and looked in the direction of the Karst Mountains. Boom. At this time, bursts of rumbling sounds came from the direction of the Karst Mountains. I don't know what happened. Lin Ke waved his hand, and a burst of light element covered everyone's eyes. Group overlooking. Level 8 light magic. Group overlooking. This is not Nasang's magic. If converted, it is just Nasang's level 4 magic. This is Lin Ke's own magic. His level 12 skill is refraction. Refraction of light. He had done this experiment as early as when he was in Dahuang City, but he had never expanded the relevant skills. It was not until level 10 that he completed the skill construction here in Fasa and created the refraction skill. As the name suggests, it can refract light. Although it is refraction, the reflection and scattering of light are all included in this skill. If before level 10, his skills were about temperature and heat, then in his plan, the skills after level 10 belong to light. Light and heat are always inseparable. What's more, the Gila royal family is said to contain the secret of light, and each generation of kings will master the laws of light or darkness. Of course, this generation of Wumian emperor is the leader among them, mastering both and being powerful. As Wumian's son-in-law, it would be reasonable for Lin Ke not to take advantage of this opportunity, so he chose the skills related to light. In fact, whether it is Nasang or other planes, whether it is the mythological era or now, the magic and skills of the light system are very rare. Fortunately, Lin Ke is at a low level now, and he does not need to consider experiments such as the wave-particle duality of light. He can build skills by discovering some surface phenomena. Now Lin Ke is level 14 and has 2 light skills. Defensive skills, refraction. Gain skills, focus. You can tell how to use them by looking at the names. Refraction can weaken, attenuate, and rebound some energy attacks. One of the most practical uses is to create image clones. Now outside the blue light Sky City, focus can enhance the power of many of his other energy-based skills, such as overheating skills. The next direction is to break through level 15. Before the breakthrough, Lin Ke told him that if he wanted to build a law-based physique at level 15, the best way was to invent more magic before level 15. The process of inventing magic can allow the body to contact the most fundamental laws more. For example, when Lin Ke was studying these 2 light skills, he felt that his understanding of light had deepened. It was like the 15th level was an exam, and now studying magic is just like doing questions. Only by doing more questions can you do well in the exam. For example, this group vision was created by Lin Ke. It is between consuming magic and skills, but the effect is a pure skill effect, which is stronger than magic. Group vision. Lin Ke used this magic, and everyone instantly found that the scene on the mountain thousands of meters away was in their sight. This effect is much better than the first level magic Eagle Eye. What is this? Ms. Yang was the first to exclaim, because she understood best how rare this kind of game type magic is, and it is a group magic. The key is that their leader of the Fanai party, Buck, shouldn't he be a powerful fire and earth magician? Eagle Eye is a transformation magic. If you want to say who is good at it, it should be the crazy woman who is good at transformation magic. This is a small magic I invented. 8th level magic. Lin Ke didn't explain much and downplayed it. 8th level magic, small magic. Seeing Lin Ke's nonchalant manner, Ms. Yang was speechless. Why don't you invent some water magic for me? 8th level magic will do. Ms. Yang couldn't help but speak her mind. Not impossible. Lin Ke smiled. There are many secrets of water. Water is the use of hydrogen and oxygen. If it is not used well, it is just the surface of electrolysis, evaporation, and solidification. If it is used well, nuclear fission, nuclear fusion, hydrogen bombs, etc. can all be made. Seeing Lin Ke's confident look, Ms. Yang was stunned and couldn't help asking, do you really know water magic? Are you a dual system magician? After asking this question, others were also curious and looked at Lin Ke. Dual system magician? Lin Ke shook his head. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief and was a little disappointed. After all, the power of a dual system magician is unquestionable, but the ability to reach the top is not that strong. After all, the energy is dispersed. Many magicians know some magic of other types, but most of them are small magic, such as the first level magic windblade, ground spike and the like. They don't have the magic power and energy to learn advanced magic. Your body is full of water element. How can you release fire magic? Unless you are in the sanctuary after level 10, you can mobilize the element around you, but you can only mobilize slightly, and cannot construct some powerful magic. However, dual element magicians are different. They have strong talent into certain magics. Ms. Yang and the others heard that Buck was not dual element, and they felt a little disappointed. I should be considered a full element magician, right? Chapter 310 Cast Mountain Giant. Am I a full system magician? Among the several temperature skills, air pressure can be considered wind, 0 degrees can be considered ice, and overheating can be considered fire. In fact, they are all the application of temperature and heat. And among the several light skills, the refraction of light can also extend the magic of the dark system. In addition, Orf is best at electromagnetics, and Lin Ke still knows a lot of powerful skills and magic of the lightning system. Wind system, ice system, fire system, lightning system, light system, and even the change of light involves the dark system. This is almost complete. Even if it is not complete, it is not much different. Lin Ke said this lightly, and the air was silent. They obviously did not believe Lin Ke, but past experience told them that their leader Buck would not lie. But, how is this possible? Seeing their expressions, Lin Ke did not explain much, and waved his hand. Okay, stop talking nonsense, take a look. What are those stones? In the long distance viewing technique, Lin Ke clearly saw that on the towering mountain, there were dozens of 7-8 meter high boulders rolling down. But these boulders seem to be a species with life. It seems to be a kind of magic beast. I like this magic beast. There are some people with rat-like heads following behind. The people next to Lin Ke obviously had never seen it. They were like crazy women who would only say I like everything they saw. However, Ms. Yang looked thoughtful. Yang, do you know this magic beast? Lin Ke asked. It seems to be an ancient race. Ms. Yang frowned and thought, it seems to be a cast mountain giant. But this race should have been cursed to extinction by the mountain god 10,000 years ago. Giant? Only 4 or 5 meters tall? Lin Ke raised his eyebrows. Although those boulders are big, they don't seem to be that big when stretched out, right? So I'm a little confused. This is a race I've seen in a book before. Ms. Yang was also confused. It should be at least tens of meters tall, and its entire body is made of rock. They are natural earth magicians, but for some reason, they were abandoned by the earth goddess, and cursed by the mountain god. Lin Ke just nodded after hearing this. This thing that happened 10,000 years ago was too long ago, and didn't make any sense. What level are the earth goddess and the mountain god? Lin Ke asked casually. It is said that the earth goddess is a powerful divine power, and the mountain god is a weak divine power. They are both members of the earth goddess pantheon. Ms. Yang is very clear about this. Weak divine power is level 21 to 23, medium divine power is level 24 to 26, and strong divine power refers to a powerful existence at level 27. Above the strong divine power, there is only the sky god, who is the master, and can be regarded as the king of gods in a sense. In other words, the earth goddess is basically equivalent to a 22nd level god or a 21st level legend of Nasan with bare hands. If weapons are added, it may be lower. I can't afford to offend her for the time being. Unless Lin Ke, Liquor or Geros drank the order potion, or asked the black and white knights to take action. But that would not make much sense. The price of a god from a secondary plane might not be comparable to the price of the order potion. So, let's just watch, and don't worry about it. Since we can't win, we should not get involved in such ancient secrets. However, Lin Ke and his men didn't want to get involved, but the boulders seemed to have discovered the army here. After all, there were tens of thousands of people, not far from the Cast Mountains. The army had already reached the foot of the mountain, and there were many magicians, so it was easy to be seen. The boulders rolled over, crushing the trees along the way, and frightened some wild beasts and monsters to flee. The ratman behind them also saw Lin Ke and his men, each with a cruel and excited look. Slaves. High quality slaves. Ha ha ha. So many slaves. These should be the native army. Catch them. Catch them all. The Nasan common language spoken by these rats reached Lin Ke's ears. A group of 2 armed. Lin Ke was a little speechless. A group of ratmen of level 17 or 18. If his great wild knights were there, these ratmen would be wiped out with a charge. However, for the current flame demon knights and the magic training camp, this is destined to be a tough battle. Prepare for battle. Lin Ke's voice spread through the sound amplification technique. Although the knights didn't know what happened, they all felt the vibration of the ground. The magicians also used their own methods to observe and detect. When they detected the extremely huge pressure in the distance, they turned pale. Some wild magicians showed fear in their eyes, and the first thing they thought of was to escape. After all, they were used to being rats in the past, and they had no dignity to speak of. The most important thing was to survive. On the contrary, orthodox school and sect magicians like Daisha adjusted their mentality and prepared for battle. At this moment, at the front of the army, Lin Ke's body suddenly swelled up and turned into a giant 7 or 8 meters tall. The heat within a few kilometers was grabbed by him, and then large drops of lava flowed on his skin. I am the Fire Demon King, Bucklaglanus. Lin Ke's voice was magnificent and huge, resounding around like thunder. All troops, prepare for battle. Ha ha ha. I'm a fire bear. A big fire bear. The crazy woman was the first to jump up crazily, and when she landed, she had turned into a violent earth bear with lava all over her body. It must be said that, although the crazy woman looked crazy, she was very talented. For the glory of the Fire Demon Knights. Although Baiguan was petite, her voice was firm and sonorous. For the glory of the Fire Demon Knights. The people of the Fire Demon Knights shouted together, shocking the magicians in the front row. Although the Fire Demon Knights were all mortals, it seemed that the momentum of unity was quite strong. People from the magic training camp, go to the flanks, and prepare to attack. The Fire Demon Knights, prepare to charge. Lin Ke ordered the army. The people of the Fire Demon Knights did not move, and put on their armor one by one. The people in the magic training camp walked quickly to both sides, and then stopped. The magic element in front of them was surging. Summon, the omnipresent wind spirit. Powerful flame, burn everything. One magic after another took shape in their hands, but because there was no running and no rules, it looked colorful. At the front of the knights, Lin Ke stood there with the crazy woman, Ms. Young, and others. Behind him, countless knights looked at Lin Ke's true form of the fire demon, with respectful and fiery eyes. Lin Ke was paying attention to the movement over there, and also looked back at the sky in the distance. There, a few sack birds were flying over here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311, The Frightened Rat Man. Everyone, get ready. Lin Ke gave the order, and the knights clamped their lances under their armpits, transmitted their thoughts from the magic to their mounts, and held their breath. Boom. The boulder seemed to be moving slowly, but in fact it almost exceeded the speed of sound. The boulders rolled down in front of Lin Ke, and in an instant they separated to both sides and stopped. Arms and thighs made entirely of rocks condensed on the round boulders, and then stood up, and turned into stone men. They separated to both sides, then turned around, and faced the pursuing rats. It looked like they surrounded the rats in the opposite direction with Lin Ke and the others. Lin Ke was not there either, but looked at the rats. Whenever he saw the rats again, he would still think of the scene of ore flying in his arms and slowly dissipating. The rats were the main culprits, and the wild boars were accomplices. Nasan was not like his previous life. Many things could not be seen as a race or a force. Nasan, especially the Holy Life Alliance, a tribe or a race, often prospered together and suffered together. If you kill someone from a certain tribe, the entire tribe will regard you as an enemy. In the previous life, when someone in your community died, you would not regard people as enemies. Lin Ke would not judge this kind of value of prosperity and loss together. However, when the top leaders of the Ratmen and Wild Boars decided on this strategy, it meant that their entire race had decided to be enemies with Lin Ke, Azan, and Dahuang. because AOF is Lin Ke's teacher, and also a member of Azan and Dahyang. At that time, Lin Ke was weak and helpless, and his father Geros was still trapped in the secondary plane. At that time, AOF resolutely stayed and tied to the Azan family. At that time, AOF was a star level. How could he be tied to a small Viscount family in a marginal area? Because of Lin Ke. So, when he saw the Ratman at this time, an irrepressible anger rose in his heart. Natives of the secondary plane, I come from the powerful Nasan plane. I'm a demigod. A leading 18th level epic Ratman stopped in midair, looking at Lin Ke with pride and indifference. Fearless. After the strongest and most conspicuous Ratmen were killed by Lin Ke, the new Ratmen were liberated all of a sudden. Without the pressure from the people above, these Ratmen are unbridled and lawless. When they see powerful people, such as those who are more than 21 levels above Thassa, they will hide. When they see those below 21 levels, they will go to burn, kill and plunder. For a while, no one can control these Ratmen. After all, in the eyes of the Thassa gods, although these foreign visitors have different heads, they all belong to the same force. They don't know that the Holy Life Alliance is not a monolithic entity. There is also a competitive relationship between different races and tribes. As a result, these Ratmen have been very happy recently. However, they met Lin Ke. Lin Ke has already told the people below that the forces in the east are not monolithic, but each fights for itself. So they were not afraid at all at this time. The Ratman had only said half of his words when Lin Ke jumped up and punched the leading Ratman. Interrupting me? You are overestimating yourself. The Ratman snorted coldly, his round eyes full of disdain. Go back. He slapped Lin Ke's body with his backhand, and Lin Ke's body flew back at a faster speed than when he came. Boom. The originally passionate army seemed to be poured with a basin of cold water in winter, freezing to the bone. Their strongest man, Buck, was slapped back by someone. But at this moment, Buck, who had fallen to the ground, stood up again, and his voice resounded throughout the army. He is very powerful. The army's morale was even lower after hearing this. But, are we going to surrender because of this? Lin Ke's voice was full of determination. When one day these strong men come to our city, drive our relatives and family members like pigs and dogs' toys, and order us around like slaves, will we surrender because of this? The rats standing in the air were stunned. No, I just slapped you. It looks like you are going to give a speech in front of the battlefield. You are a native. Why do you talk so much? However, Lin Ke did not stop. He wanted to take this opportunity to teach his great wilderness second army a lesson. We have come here from afar, not to fight with the weak, not to fight for interests, but to protect. For liberation. What distinguishes us as hostile or not is not whether he is strong, but whether he has the same philosophy as us. Whether his will is similar to ours. The strong draws his sword and slashes at the stronger, while the weak draws his sword and only stabs the weaker. We seek common ground while reserving differences. We tolerate everything. We believe in the gods. But when they point their butcher knives at our relatives and compatriots, when they cage our freedom and will, then, whoever stands in the way shall be killed. Lin Ke turned over and rode on the black gold volcanic demon bull beside him. The body of the black gold volcano demon bull was burning with raging fire, and a thick sulfurous gas was spewed out of its mouth and nose, and it let out a bull's cry, moo. For the glory of the Vanai party, liberate all Thassa. Lin Ke roared loudly, took out his thunder wrist force ball from the space ring, and transformed it into a lava form. Follow me to charge. Large streams of magma burst out from the wrist force ball, but not a single lightning leaked out. For the glory of the Vanai party. Liberate all Thassa. For the glory of the Vanai party. Liberate all Thassa. For the glory of the Vanai party. Liberate all Thassa. The army, which had originally lost morale, began to raise its arms and shout, and their eyes were filled with amazing spirits. They are carrying out a great cause. They are doing something that will be remembered for thousands of years. They are not doing it for the glory of magicians, not for the dignity of the gods, but for themselves and their compatriots. Amazing momentum erupted from these mortals, and those beliefs continued to gather on Lin Ke. This scared the rats above. Follow me and charge. Charge. Why does this sound so familiar? Could it be that guy? Run. Lin Ke is coming. Run for your life. The rats were frightened by Lin Ke's momentum, and some of them even wanted to run away immediately. Shut up. It's just a native. The leading rat was also frightened at first, but then he realized that the man below was just a native. He was probably just imitating Lin Ke. Yes, 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 just a native. You scared me. I thought Lin Ke was coming. Damn it, I'm going to kill this native. The rats also reacted. If it was Lin Ke, why would they be given so many opportunities? They would fall under the charge of the Great Wilderness Knights at the first encounter. Chapter 312 My Sledgehammer. Sweeping everywhere. The ratman who had reacted was not ashamed. After all, the man below looked too much like Count Link. He shouted charge and rushed in the first place. He also said a lot of words before the water boost morale. He also had a wrist wrestling ball and even had fire element. It was a pity that Count Link was the leader. The Great Wilderness Knights were also a group of professionals, and they were iconic figures. For example, John, Medical Knight Nix, Hammer Knight Lalita, Singing Knight Sophie, Chanting Knight Rami, Chess Player Yale, etc. Those people were the core of the Great Wilderness Knights, and Count Link was the soul of the Great Wilderness Knights. The native at the moment was just a fasser with a long braid behind his head. Humph, you all go to hell for imitating the person I hate the most. The leading ratman seemed a little angry, and the other ratmen were even more so. They had originally chased the stone men down with a playful mentality, and when they saw Lin Ke and other fasser people, they just felt that there were more toys. The toys actually hurt their owners. What to do? Smash it. Wow. Endless black fog spread out from the rat leader's body and covered Lin Ke, who was charging. The other rats were the same. Their entire bodies below the head turned into black fog, screaming and laughing wildly. Skill. Dark Assault. This is the skill of the profession, Dark Knight Knife Bearer. It seems that these rats belong to the Dark Chestnut Toothed Rat Clan, a branch of the rat people. Lin Ke clenched his fist and led the Flame Demon Knights to charge forward, but the rats didn't fight Lin Ke head on. In the past, the way the Dark Chestnut Toothed Rat Clan dealt with the charge of the Gila people was to turn into black fog to avoid it, and then hide in the darkness to attack the knights. But it's not without reason that knights are everywhere in Nassam. As long as there are professions such as butler and logistics commander, this large-scale fog-like attack can basically be restrained. Now they are not there, but it doesn't mean that there is no way. The brilliance of the Gila Kingdom depends on the profession of knight, but it does not rely solely on knight light. Lin Ke took out a picture and a comic drawn with the best as in paper and pencil from the space ring. In this comic, there is a dark bottomless abyss with a little light blooming on it. Those grey pencil lines represent the strongest darkness, but this darkness also carries the most brilliant light. Lin Ke is also a painter. Lin Ke cannot reveal that he is Lin Ke at this time. This identity is best used when the noble's deliberation is over, or the entire fascer is unified. So his light skills cannot be used at this time. However, he can use some physical objects. This is when seeing this painting, exclamations came from the black fog. At this time, the painting containing strong magic fluctuations became illusory in the air, but it produced an extremely strong attraction. The surrounding black fog was constantly attracted by the painting, and then a little bright light was produced from it. Unfortunately, this is only a third level magic item. These ratmen must have investigated Lin Ke before they came, so they knew that this thing was Lin Ke's work. After all, the comic book couldn't be faked. The comic book was easily destroyed by the ratman, but because of this momentary delay, Lin Ke also completed the order. Attack the light. He ordered the magicians. Many ants bite the elephant to death. Suddenly, various magic elements surged, and the magicians who had lost their vision used their most powerful magic and blasted out lightning, flames, frost, ground spikes. Almost all the magic element within a radius of several kilometers were drawn out, and then converted into attacks, hitting the ratman. The ratman was hit by the attack, just when he was destroying the painting. A muffled groan came from the darkness. Injured. Taking this opportunity, Lin Ke took the power of the entire Flame Demon Knights and punched out. The fist wind turned into substance and bombarded there. How is it possible? The ratman who tore up the comic book screamed in pain and flew backwards, and a large piece of the black fog suddenly emptied. However, it was only a ratman of about level 16, and he was only seriously injured, not dead. After using up almost the entire army's strength, only one of the 8 ratmen was injured. You gave a speech and fought hard, but in the end you seriously injured little calf. Ha ha ha. Weak natives. How ridiculous. The ratmen's voices were full of ridicule, and at the same time, there were screams of knights. Don't stop charging. Lin Ke shouted, preparing to take out something from the space ring. However, this time the ratmen did not give Lin Ke a chance. Several black mists did not continue to attack those mortal knights, but all rushed towards Lin Ke. They did not see the smile on Lin Ke's mouth. For the first time, his fascia army saw their own shortcomings and had pressure. At the same time, they would also gather faith in this process. What is lacking now is only enlightenment. After enlightenment, this will become a powerful army under Lin Ke. Come on, I'm not afraid. Lin Ke maintained the appearance of the true form of the flame demon, stepped on the black gold volcanic demon bull, leaped up, and then punched the swarming black fog. Ha ha ha. Weak fists. You want to imitate Count Lin Ke? Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. Is that something you can imitate? Stupid natives. Weak natives. The ratman's voice was already sharp, and it was even more harsh and unpleasant at this time. Puff. Lin Ke vomited blood in the collisions again and again, and the knights riding on the spurred horses were worried. Buck homogeneity. Bai Guang's eyes had long been red, and at this time, a force burst out from somewhere in his body, and he raised the lance in his hand. Never surrender. The knights had red eyes and shouted, never surrender. The army of 10,000 people. The voice was loud, but it does not mean strength. Lin Ke vomited blood in the collisions again and again, and the flames and lava on his body gradually dimmed. Although the rats did not continue to slaughter the mortal knights, the knights' hearts were wrapped in emotions such as shame, worry, and a sense of honor. At this time, Lin Ke was not having a good time either. Damn, what happened to John and Liquor? Lin Ke was also vomiting blood in his heart. It is one thing to establish faith, but it does not mean that he has to sacrifice faith. John and the others should have been riding the sackbird and hanging behind the team. I'm afraid they should have appeared by now. Just at this moment, a scream suddenly came from the darkness, accompanied by a tooth-grinding bone-breaking sound. Crack. Who is it? What's going on? At the same time, the voice of a rampant and generous woman rang out, my sledgehammer, sweeping across the 4 directions. Haha. The editor told me that I will be recommended on the 27th, and I will update it quickly at that time. Chapter 313. Kill. The power of Thunderist Ball. My hammer. Sweep across the 4 directions. Lalita descended from the sky, wearing armor, and landed steadily with a bang. Seeing Lalita's obviousness and costume, the knights were still confused. However, following closely behind her was a figure. By the order of Master Link, John descended from the sky, elegant and relaxed, and with a hook of his finger, all the knights of the Fire Demon Knights felt that they had merged into one. Before, there were 10,000 people, but now, 10,000 people have become one. Shared fate. Song of Azan. Sophie and Rami followed closely behind, one chanting and the other singing. The magicians who had already used several spells instantly felt that they could cast 5 or 6 more spells. They were all amazed at the power of the song. When the song sounded, Nyx's snow white figure had already shuttled between the knights and the magicians. Some knights fell to the ground, their intestines leaking out, but Nyx patted the dust off their intestines and stuffed them back in. The wounds healed, and they became lively again. There were even knights whose throats had just been cut by the ratman, but after being touched by Nyx's furry palm, their wounds healed immediately, and they even jumped up and jumped around. Ursa stupid. Yale also landed, and took control of the Fire Demon Knights with the help of John. With a throw of his right hand, the power of the chess player condensed into black and white chess pieces, and fell on top of everyone's head. Under the traction of these chess pieces, the formation of the Fire Demon Knights also changed. From high above, it looked like a giant bear in hibernation, curled up, and its defense was greatly improved. Finally, a blonde woman with green eyes slowly and gracefully descended from the sky. As she fell, a green vine rose from the ground, tearing through the black fog and supporting her. It was Rika. Liquor sat on the vine like a queen of plants, swinging a bottle made of gemstone in her hand, with a smile on her lips. She looked at Lin Ke, who was covered in lava, with interest, and she didn't know what she was thinking. but the black fog created by the ratman didn't dare to get close to her. Are you kidding? The most beloved daughter of Emperor Wumian. Not to mention that she can be defeated. How will she die after going out? Even if they fight, they may not be able to defeat her. I don't know how many life-saving things this kind of existence has. Are they bored and fighting with such people? So the first thing these ratmen think of is to retreat. Lin Ke on the ground looked at Lin Ke, still a little scared, for fear that Lin Ke would say husband. You know, in the live broadcast over at Nassing, Lin Ke and the ratman should be in the camera at this time. If they shouted, it would be exposed. Fortunately, Lin Ke finally moved her lips, but didn't say anything. Lin Ke breathed a sigh of relief. By the order of Master Link, Butlaglinus, receive your power. At this time, John was afraid that Lin Ke could not hold back, so he shouted loudly, "What? This native is indeed connected to Count Link. Run, 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 run." The rats originally thought that Buck had only purchased some of Link's works. Who knew that it would come to the point where Link would send someone to help? Run, run, run. While the black fog was still there, the rats screamed and wanted to escape, and the power of the professionals on their bodies burst out, and the space was agitated. They had reserved their strength when they attacked, and the power they used to escape at this time was actually more than the energy they used when they attacked. However, at this moment, Sophie's humming suddenly changed and turned into a sharp long whistle. This long whistle seemed fast and slow, and it sounded like countless short tremolos, and also like a long tremolo combined. In short, this sense of dislocation makes people dizzy and nauseous. Skill slow movement. Sophie opened her eyes slightly, and the white light in her pupils shone on the black fog. The music of fate in her hand was half opened, revealing the contents. On it were written the word slow movement in the common language of Nassam. At the same time, John waved his hand gently, and part of the team's strength was added to Sophie. With the help of the butler skill synergy, Sophie, who was originally only level 14, sang a sound wave that slowed down the ratman of levels 16 to 18. The Knight of Gila greatly weakened the individual's bravery. Want to run? I'm about to break through the strong man of level 14 now. As a strong man of level 14, Lin Ke waved her hand, and several vines soared to the sky at a very fast speed, entangled with the slowed down level 18 ratman. The ratman just shook lightly, and the vines broke and corroded. However, in this instant, Lin Ke had already jumped high from the ground. For all phaser, Lin Ke transformed into the true form of the flame demon, and sent out his right fist with a whistling wind. The flames and lava almost soared into purple and blue under his overheating. He also used the superposition of the skill power of Ofu, and with the addition of the wrist force ball and the addition of the entire flame demon knights, the power of this punch has reached the point of tearing the space. Crack. A dark space crack formed on the back of Lin Ke's hand, and then quickly returned to its original state. Lin Ke's power has reached level 18. Epic level. Among the Radman, there is only one epic Radman, that is the leader. However, the first one he aimed at was not the Ratman leader, but other weak Ratman. Hiss. The first level 16 Ratman was smashed half of his body by Lin Ke's punch. However, professionals after level 15 already have elemental bodies, so even a level 15 who is already half dead can recover by absorbing magic element. If you want to hurt beings above level 15, pure power is not enough. Like before, although the body was not seriously injured, the curse attack of the rat shaman was a law-based attack. Now, Lin Ke's pure power did not really hurt the rat, but his attack carried the thunder wrist ball. The thunder wrist ball was a powerful legendary weapon forged by the legendary forger, Li Guan Mabi. It was then sealed to the starlight level by Li Guan Mabi before being handed over to Lin Ke. It was attached with multiple rules such as power, thunder, and lava. Therefore, after Lin Ke's fist, which was rich in power rules, hit the rat, a wave of power descended from the wrist ball. Those who have played the wrist ball know how much power is contained in it. This power tore the rat to pieces in an instant. Then, Lin Ke looked at the next rat. Kill him, don't leave any alive. Chapter 314 Amazing Harvest. In less than a few minutes, Lin Ke slaughtered all the Radmen. But the price was also very high. All the members of the Fire Demon Knights collapsed on the spot, as did the people in the magic training camp. But Lin Ke did not fall down. He stood up and came to the Cast Mountain Giants. his eyes cold. Just now, these cast mountain giants did not make a move. Their auras were above level 10, but less than level 13. But regardless of the level, the ratmen were attracted by them. At first, they put on a posture of sharing the same hatred and the same enemy, but after the ratman's attention was attracted by Lin Ke and his men, they stood by and watched. Do you want to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight? The fisherman gets the benefit. Lin Ke came to the cast mountain giant with the strongest aura, folded his arms, and looked at him, his eyes cold. What do you want to do? These stone men stood in a row, the emerald platforms on their body shook off, and they looked about the same height as Lin Ke. When he turned into the fire demon, the atmosphere froze. John and his companions came to the side one by one, and separated themselves from the Fasa people. Then they looked at Lin Ke and these cast mountain giants with interest. Although they seemed to be prepared to stay out of the matter, no one, including the cast mountain giants, would doubt which side these foreign visitors were from. Just now, with the help of these foreign visitors, they killed several demigods. The cast mountain giants looked at Lin Ke. Although they were stone-like, they were a little timid from their movements and vague expressions. At this time, a slightly smaller cast mountain giant stood up. Respected strongman, it's not that we are unwilling to take action. This cast mountain giant was only more than 3 meters tall, not even as tall as the waist of Lin Ke's flame demon's true body, and his voice was old and helpless. Why? Lin Ke narrowed his eyes. Want to wait until we are both defeated before taking action? No, no. The old cast mountain giant shook his head. The grey rock seemed like his hair. We, the cast mountain giants, are lingering here because we are cursed by the god of mountains. The old cast mountain giant slowly told the story. It turned out that these cast mountain giants came from ancient times. They were originally the followers of the earth goddess and were as close to the god of mountains as brothers. However, the cast mountain giants were too powerful at that time. This power was not in the number of the entire race, but in the individual strength. The cast mountain giants are born to be favored by the earth. This talent even surprised the earth goddess frequently, and then she took them into her earth god system. At the peak, the cast mountain giants, who totaled only tens of thousands of people, occupied half of the seats in the earth god system. However, the good times did not last long. Before long, the god of mountains became jealous. He secretly produced the tribe of the cast mountain giants, and induced them to do some wrong things. That abominable executioner destroyed our image in the heart of the goddess, and induced the great god of the sky to wrongly judge our former god of iron ore, and finally was cursed by the god of the mountains. The old cast mountain giant cried, as if something like mud flowed from his eyes, and continued to narrate. Originally, we would become slaves to produce iron marrow, gold essence and mithril forever under his curse, and we would be doomed forever, and unable to use magic. I didn't expect that those— Wait. Lin Ke suddenly widened his eyes. Say what you just said again. Not only Lin Ke, but even Lin Ke and others who were originally calm and composed on the side came over at once. Gold essence, mithril and iron marrow? Exclamation mark. These 3 things. 1 gram is 10,000 gold coins. What is manufacturing? Exclamation mark. The old cast mountain giant was startled by Lin Ke and others, and took 2 steps back. The other tall cast mountain giants took a step forward, looking very sensitive. I said, we will be doomed forever. The old cast mountain giant was puzzled. No, no. Lin Ke pointed at them. You can produce gold essence, mithril and iron marrow? How to produce such things? Yes. The cast mountain giant nodded as a matter of course. Ms. Yang next to him walked forward and explained to Lin Ke, or to the cast mountain giants and Lin Ke and others, 10,000 years ago, gold essence, mithril and iron marrow were not particularly precious. Until the cast mountain giants died out, these materials became scarce. So that's it. Everyone suddenly realized, and then their eyes became eager. They all looked at the cast mountain giant eagerly, except for 2 people, or 3 people. Who are you? Lin Ke looked at Ms. Yang not far away in front of her and frowned slightly. Too close. How could this phaser woman be so close to my little Lin Ke? Exclamation mark. Especially when she looked at Ms. Yang's curvy figure and then looked down at her own pair of aces. Lin Ke's mood suddenly became unhappy. Honorable Lord Nassing, I'm Yangj, the right-hand man of Buck homogeneity. Ms. Yangj thought her knowledge was appreciated, but she didn't see Lika's eyes. Sophie didn't look at the cast mountain giant, but looked at the real body of the fire demon that Lin Ke had transformed into. Her face was slightly red, and she didn't know whether it was because of the heat or something else. As for the last one, who was not attracted by the gold essence, secret silver and iron essence, it was the crazy woman. The crazy woman still maintained the form of the fire demon bear, swaying from left to right and coming not far from Lalita, looking at Lalita curiously, with two cute eyes. Lalita was carrying two sledgehammers at this time, drooling at the cast mountain giant over there. Nyx next to her didn't care at all. After all, if you don't run the family, you don't know how expensive firewood, rice, oil and salt are. The family's economy is controlled by Lalita. When Nyx saw the crazy woman, his two ears stood up, and he asked curiously, "What's wrong, ma'am? Is there something wrong?" The crazy woman shook her head, then nodded, looking a little dumb. Lalita turned around after hearing Nyx's words, and looked at the crazy woman strangely. "Why are you looking at me?" Since she went to the battlefield, Lalita, who had been a lady, had already revealed her true colors. "Lalita, pay attention to retract your breath. Charm. Charm." Nyx, who was next to her, looked around and found that several white-bearded old magicians were looking at Lalita and swallowing their saliva, so he quickly reminded her. "Oh, sorry. Lalita threw the two big hammers to the ground with a bang and retracted the breath from the charming beauty. Those annoying eyes disappeared. However, the crazy woman still looked at Lalita, staring blankly. Huh. Lalita was puzzled and looked at the crazy woman again. The crazy woman blushed and immediately turned into a mole on the spot and burrowed into the soil. Chapter 315, Harvesting Divinity. Lin Ke ignored what the crazy woman was doing there, but started thinking. Now, it's being broadcast live. The news must be hidden, and now the idea is how to keep these cast mountain giants. By the way, Lika's uncle, the Grand Duke of the Mountains, might be interested in these. Lin Ke looked up at Lika, and Lika squinted her eyes. The two exchanged glances, and Lika roughly understood what Lin Ke meant. These cast mountain giants belong to the Great Wilderness. But for now, it shouldn't be said by the Great Wilderness, and even by Lin Ke. Fortunately, Ms. Yangj next to her is also very smart. At this time, she looked at Lin Ke and frowned. "Buck is homogeneous, we can't accept the cast mountain giants." Ms. Yangj knew very well that the gold essence, mithril, and iron marrow produced by the cast mountain giants are simply what all magicians like. If all of Phaser is liberated, it can be shared or state-owned. But now, the foreign enemies are all around, and Phaser itself is fighting each other, and it is impossible to unite together. Can't keep it. But Buck, as their leader, couldn't say that he couldn't protect them. At this time, Ms. Yangj felt that she needed to stand up. "Why can't we accept them?" Lin Ke looked at Ms. Yangj. "They are also a member of our Phaser. They are also our Phaser people, and they are also intelligent Phaser people." He immediately determined the nature. The cast mountain giants belong to Phaser. As for the deeper meaning, Phaser, won't it be his in the future? But Buck is of the same nature. They can't get rid of the curse now. As far as I know, this curse can only be lifted by the god of the mountains. We have no way. Ms. Yangj carefully analyzed and tried to find the moral high ground, so that Lin Ke could not refuse and still feel good. "We still have thousands of Phaser people waiting to be rescued. We can't delay any longer. Your curse, can only the god of the mountains lift it?" Lin Ke looked at the old man of the cast mountain giant with a dignified look. "Yes." The cast mountain giant looked at Lin Ke, then at Lika and the others, with bitterness at the corners of his mouth. He opened his mouth to say something, but didn't say it. Lin Ke pretended to be distressed, and thought for 2 seconds, before looking at Lika and saying, "This beautiful lady." As soon as he said this, Lika's expression became very excited. "Am I beautiful?" Her expression was full of interest. Lin Ke broke out in a cold sweat. "Yes, I mean, even with the aesthetics of us Phaser people, your beauty is enough to be praised." Then, in order to prevent Lika from going crazy again, Lin Ke hurriedly asked, "Beautiful lady, may I ask the Lord of the Great Wilderness to help us protect the cast mountain giants? We will give you a generous reward." protect. No problem. Although Lin Ke was in a bad mood at this time, she could still understand Lin Ke's intention. Seeing Lin Ke agreed so easily, the people on the phaser side couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. But the reward? Lin Ke looked around, her eyes rolling. This made everyone nervous again. Lin Ke seemed to be looking at a person. I want her. Lin Ke pointed at Ms. Yang, but before she could say anything, Lin Ke sternly refused. My friend, my partners and comrades will not be exchanged. What does Lin Ke want to do? Ms. Yang and the others are the ones he wants to keep and train. Seeing Lin Ke so stern, Lin Ke pouted. Okay. I want the Ratman over there. I want that divinity, and the remaining one is for you. Everyone looked in the direction of Lin Ke's finger. There was an inexplicable aura floating on the bodies of the two Ratmen. Lin Ke was originally planning to touch the corpses later, but he didn't expect that the 18th level Ratman actually had divinity. There are even two. If it was in Asing, there would be two divinities, so why bother to take the risk? It is better to take the risk, to condense the divinity directly. This shows that this 18th level Ratman condensed the divinity after coming to Fasa, and condensed two at a time. It has to be said that the benefits of the secondary plane are really far greater than Nasang. It is not easy to gain faith in Nasang, but it is too easy to gain the power of faith in Fasa. The pure perception of the law cannot condense the divinity, but it can be condensed together under the effect of the power of faith. These people really came here to become gods. Divinity? That is divinity. After absorbing it, can you become a strong person in the holy domain? What strong person in the holy domain can become a god after absorbing it? The people in the magic training camp exclaimed one by one, their eyes widened. Divinity. That is a secret passed down from generation to generation in their previous schools and sects. When a god falls, he will inevitably lose his godhood. And the strong people below the gods may lose their divinity. Divinity burns to form divine fire, and the divine fire condenses to become a god. Exclamation mark. This is not two divinities, this is an opportunity to ascend to heaven in one step. These magicians looked at Lin Ke eagerly while Lin Ke was there, and the people in the great wilderness did not feel much. Divinity, it's not like they can't afford it. In Nasang, there are many transactions of divinity from the secondary plane every day, and the turnover is estimated to be hundreds of thousands. Anyone with a little ambition will not merge other people's divinity, let alone divinity from the secondary plane. Most of them are used for research and as consumables. Precious, but not that precious. Seeing Lin Ke hand over such a precious thing as divinity, the Cast Mountain giants were still a little moved. You know, it's divinity. Lord Buck. The old Cast Mountain giant's eyes were tearful. Of course, he heard that Lord Buck treated them as his own people and asked people to protect them. Don't worry, you Cast Mountain giants will go to the Lord of the Great Wilderness to seek refuge first. With him, even the god of the sky can't do anything to you. Lin Ke looked at the old Cast Mountain giant. When we have the strength to protect you, we will bring you back. Okay. The Cast Mountain giants were very moved. They have been cursed for many years. If they were not forced to flee this time, they might never get out. This also caused them to not have too many plans. Lin Ke patted the old mountain giant on the shoulder, came to the body of the Ratman nearby, and picked up two divinities with his hands. One is darkness, and the other is concealment. The dark one of the two divinities is thicker, and the hidden one is smaller. Lin Ke threw the smaller one to Lin Ke without hesitation. He threw it carelessly, and Lin Ke grabbed it with her hand without any care. Next, there was only the dark divinity in his hand. In full view of the public, eyes as sharp as torches. Everyone was looking at Lin Ke. Chapter 316. 5-year plan for Dahuang City. Gold essence. Mithril. Iron marrow. What kind of race is this? They actually returned to the great wilderness to contact people in the farther plane. In the abyss, countless people often look up to watch the live broadcast at the top, and life has returned to normal. However, today's peace was broken. In the past, the most exciting live broadcasts often came from forces other than the Kingdom of Gila. After all, the extremely powerful Count Lin Ke did nothing all day after entering, like an artist or writer who was collecting folk songs. Gradually, the people who were originally staring at Lin Ke gave up. Is it interesting to live broadcast and write every day? Is it interesting to live broadcast and compose music every day? If you dance, it might be a little interesting. But today, many people saw Lin Ke's means. Support local puppets. That flame demon king seems to be the puppet supported by Lin Ke. But most people still sneered. After all, people from the secondary plane have to be trained from scratch. It would be better to find a low-level professional in the NASA mercenary union. Most people thought that Lin Ke had made a stupid move, but there were also a few wise men who analyzed Lin Ke's approach. Although the final result did not reveal anything, they knew very little about the native Fasa who called himself the King of Flame Demons. As time passed, although Lin Ke was not there, the Great Wasteland City was still steadily advancing the plan set by Lin Ke. This was called the Great Wasteland City 5-year plan by Lin Ke. Before Lin Ke entered, the third 5-year plan had already passed for 2 years, and the remaining 3 years happened to be the 3 years that Lin Ke was conducting the Noble Review. During these 3 years, Lin Ke made requirements both inside and outside the Great Wasteland City. Internally, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Industry, and the Ministry of Science were required to develop vigorously. In terms of agriculture, a variety of crops must be developed to ensure that they can be planted in desert areas, magma areas, frozen land areas, pure ocean areas, etc. If it was in the previous life, it would be almost impossible. However, in NASA, with the professionals there, it is not impossible. Otherwise, what would the other frozen council eat? This is not a fairy world. Of course, although the strong are not fasting, if they really want to, they can also fast. That is, they can live without eating and rely on absorbing element. However, there is no cultural background of eating wind and drinking dew here. People here believe that the stronger they are, the more they should eat. The energy in a piece of legendary red dragon ribs may far exceed that of some professionals who have practiced for hundreds of years. Therefore, agriculture is very important. The same is true for industry. Industry has changed the lives of Dahuang and Azanan, as well as some Gila people. For example, disinfectant alcohol, glass bottles, ceramics, clocks. Products are only secondary, and the most important thing is that these industries also provide Lin Ke with a large number of professions. The existence of these professions not only inspires many people in Nasan to yearn for Dahuang City, but also contributes to Lin Ke's welfare lottery and other businesses. Industry is the foundation and core of Lin Ke's next professional revolution. The science department is even more heavyweight. What is the science department responsible for? Mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, geography, history, politics, psychology, business, economics. Responsible for everything, and responsible for nothing. The science department occupies the upper floors of the Great Wilderness Tower. It can be said that the science department is the core of the entire Great Wilderness City. It is responsible for only one thing, that is, scientific research. Even the teleportation array that was previously in the underground dungeon of Azan was transplanted to the Great Wilderness Tower by Lin Ke. The original iron ore in that teleportation array had long been mined, and the space that originally belonged to the magma dragon had also been developed. The magma dragon stayed in the Great Wilderness Tower all day. The group of mathematicians had dozens of times more resources than before, and they studied mathematics all day, and they had almost reached the high school level of Lin Ke's previous life. In addition, there were many other people. They were not necessarily professionals, and they might even be ordinary people, but they were selected because of their intelligence. Physics was similar, but other natural science subjects including physics were not so simple to study. The humanities were okay, just barely. And the plan that Lin Ke set for the science department was to have at least 10,000 meaningful projects every year, and each project would be allocated a budget of 10 to 10 million. The requirement was that he must spend at least 10 billion ASN coins every year, the equivalent of 30 billion gold coins. As for whether the project is meaningful, how to judge it? Lin Ke will naturally have a standard for judgment. Cheating funds and the like will not work here. After all, this is NASA, not the system. As for gold coins, Lin Ke knows that spending money is nothing, and being able to use money is really amazing. Under Lin Ke's unconditional trust, mathematician, Julia also felt unprecedented excitement and full of energy, which was in sharp contrast to her previous treatment at the Giller Institute. And these are internal. Externally, the requirements of the business department are also very important. They are responsible for selling all kinds of goods in Dahuang far away, and then purchasing all kinds of raw materials from outside. This is what Hishin is responsible for. On the one hand, Hishin is the head of the business department, and on the other hand, he is also responsible for the human resources department. The human resources department is to appoint and dismiss internally, and poach and recruit externally. Dahuang City is now the hotspot of the entire Nasang, and countless people want to join it. The human resources department has to approve and reject a considerable number of people every day. Human Resources Division was also invented by Lin Ke under this situation. In addition, there is poaching. The Scholar Wilderness controlled by Hishin is spread all over the Gila Kingdom, and even has branches in many areas of Nasam. This powerful intelligence capability allows Hishin to keep track of various dynamics at any time. For example, he can take in 1 or 2 human slaves who escaped from the Holy Life Alliance, and ask about the various situations of the Holy Life Alliance. Or he can help a group of confused travelers from the secondary plane, and by the way, he can accidentally find out the information of the plane where these travelers are. In short, Hishin has made the population of the Great Wilderness City more and more, and made the Great Wilderness City richer and richer. As for banks, it is similar. With the efforts of Kanako, the original high priest of the Temple of Wealth, banks are almost all over the Gila Kingdom. Countless people choose to deposit gold coins in the bank and then withdraw them from another place, which is convenient and fast. Kanako is the general controller of the bank, and she also needs to allocate some funds to various departments, which can be said to be very busy. But she also took this opportunity to be promoted to the 20th level of Star Glory, and she is only one step away from becoming a financial goddess. In addition, places like the City Hall are also busy every day. Although they were busy, the people in Dahuang City felt an unusual sense of fulfillment, because they felt that their lives had a purpose. In other words, there was hope. Chapter 317 Grafting failed. At this time, in the suburbs of Dahuang City, the fields here are divided into pieces, and the crops in each piece are different. Many farmers are working in the fields. Most of the land is arranged to grow food, such as rye, buckwheat, wheat and other crops. The quality of life of the citizens of Dahuang City has gradually improved. With the city hall regulating prices, food can be purchased with only a few ASEAN coins. Even due to Professor Lin Ke's intensive farming and composting methods, the grain output has shown a blowout. A lot of grain has to be exported every year, which is simply impossible for these farmers. As the quality of life in Dahuang City has improved, and the needs of food and clothing have been met, the citizens have gradually begun to pursue factors such as taste and flavor. At this time in the field, farmers are watering the plants. Uncle Mark, my mulberry tree here is wilted. What should I do? A little boy ran barefoot to a middle-aged man wearing a straw hat. The middle-aged man was studying the grafted branches in his hand. What he was about to plant was a mature mulberry tree, which was considered the most vigorous mulberry tree here. In his hand was a small tender branch, with magic element gently vibrating on it. This was the only branch from the magic mulberry tree. What he had to do now was to follow Master Lin Ke's instructions and graft the branches from the magic mulberry tree onto ordinary mulberry trees to achieve the effect of mass production of magic mulberries. Otherwise, the magic mulberries planted would not necessarily be magical. However, it was not that simple. Little Pando, wait, I'm busy. Uncle Mark stared at the seedling in his hand without looking back. The boy named Little Pando came to Uncle Mark and looked at him curiously with his eyes wide open. I saw green lines like blood slowly extending from the trunk of the mulberry tree in front of me, as if they were alive. And in Uncle Mark's hand, the bottom of the young magic mulberry seedling was also the same. Under the power of his third level, farmer, green silk threads extended from the bottom of the magic mulberry branches and leaves, and entangled with the lines on the ordinary mulberry tree. The two threads intertwined one by one, and merged together one by one under Uncle Mark's urging. Just slowly, slowly. Uncle Mark's eyes were bloodshot, but his movements became more and more gentle. Gradually, the branch broke away from Uncle Mark's palm and slowly merged into this ordinary mulberry tree. Little Pando next to him couldn't help but hold his breath and watch this scene. However, at the moment when the two were about to merge, one of the green threads of the mulberry tree suddenly broke. Uncle Mark's eyes suddenly widened, and his right hand trembled. Fortunately, the output of magic power did not fluctuate. However, this had nothing to do with the output of magic power. The green threads of the mulberry tree seemed to have lost the support of power, breaking one by one, causing a chain reaction. No. Uncle Mark was furious, and the magic power in his right hand suddenly increased the output and input it into it one by one. But it still couldn't stop the thread from breaking. No matter how much magic power he used, the threads eventually broke without a single thread left. At the same time, the branch from the magic mulberry tree also quickly withered from its green and lush appearance and turned black in an instant. It seemed that it had already died. Plop. Uncle Mark suddenly sat down on the ground, staring blankly at the carbonized work in his hands, and 2 lines of tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. Failed. Failed. Failed again. Uncle Mark sat on the ground, and at first he just shed tears, and finally he burst into tears. He had failed Master Lin Ke's trust in him. Master Lin Ke had clearly taught him about the grafting technology, but he just recited it by rote. Little Panduo, who was watching Uncle Mark suddenly collapse, was also startled and hurried over to help him up. Master Lin Ke. Damn Little Panduo, are you here to disturb Uncle Mark again? Not far away, Little Panduo's mother, who was watering the plants, was attracted by the movement here and saw that Uncle Mark had been made to cry by her own son. How could this be tolerated? She turned her hand and picked up the watering can and ran over with big strides. Before Little Panda could react, his mother grabbed his calf and lifted him upside down, and the water scoop in her hand hit Little Pando's buttocks. No, Mrs. Cell, it's not Little Pando's fault, it's my own fault. Uncle Mark laughed bitterly and sat on the ground powerlessly. It's me. I failed Master Lin Ke. It's all my fault. So that's how it is. Then Mr. Mark, why don't you beat Little Pando to vent your anger? It's very effective. He's a strong kid. He's not afraid of being beaten. Seeing this, Mrs. Cell asked carefully, but Uncle Mark ignored her. She put Little Pando down. Little Pando ran to Uncle Mark in fear and secretly looked at his mother's face. Mrs. Cell glared at him, then smiled and said to Uncle Mark, Mr. Mark, you see, you are so powerful, when will you accept a Little Pando as your disciple? Look at a Little Pando, he was born to be a farmer. Uncle Mark ignored Mrs. Cell, and Little Pando was the same. Uncle Mark was immersed in sadness and self-blame, while Little Pando was curious. Little Pando looked at the carbonized branches and leaves in Uncle Mark's hand, and then looked at the trunk of the ordinary mulberry tree that had returned to its original state, thinking. He came to the ordinary mulberry tree, and looked at it, as if confirming something, and then turned back to Uncle Mark and said, Uncle Mark, did you make a mistake? It's your mistake, Master Lin Ke. I will take you down to see your dead father today. Mrs. Cell glared, and her big hand comparable to that of a level 5 demon ape grabbed Little Pando. It's too bold to say that your teacher is wrong before you become a disciple. However, Uncle Mark suddenly looked at Little Pando, his eyes red and a little scary. What's wrong? Little Pando was hiding from his mother and didn't see Uncle Mark's eyes. But he still replied, to connect the 2 trees together, you have to insert them where they grow fast. Branches need to eat to grow. Look at those new branches, they grow at high places, and there are many branches on each branch. Uncle Mark, you inserted it at the lower trunk, and the branches can't eat enough, so of course they will die. Ouch. After Little Pando finished speaking, he was caught by his mother, and then a few scoops of water were poured into him, which made Little Pando cry in pain. However, Uncle Mark's originally red eyes suddenly widened, and the light in them became brighter and brighter. He jumped up from the ground in an instant, took out a new branch from his pocket, and then came to the mulberry tree just now, and scraped the top with his fingernails. Then, he repeated the grafting operations. And this time, it was successful. I saw that the magic mulberry tree was steadily inserted at the highest point of the ordinary mulberry tree, and streams of magic were absorbed by it, and then slowly spread to the whole mulberry tree. Success. Success. Uncle Mark was stunned for a moment, then suddenly closed his eyes. Feedback, here it comes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318, Ministry of Agriculture Press Conference. Shocking the Nasan continent. Little Pando had been put down by his mother. The two of them stood still, one curious, the other nervous, and both looked at Uncle Mark carefully. After a while, Uncle Mark opened his eyes. So this is a growth hormone that Master Lin Ke said? Uncle Mark, what is growth hormone? Little Pando was very curious and asked impatiently. But Miss Cell covered Little Pando's mouth with her hand, and then smiled at Mark. Well, Mr. Mark, look at Little Pando. He has been smart since he was a child. Ha ha ha, he is quite smart. Uncle Mark laughed before Miss Cell finished speaking. In just a few minutes, Uncle Mark experienced from great sorrow to great joy, and his mood was really complicated. As for Miss Cell, Uncle Mark glanced at her. She knew that Miss Cell was a new Azanan who had recently entered the city. The war more than 10 years ago separated the young Miss Cell from the Azanan army and drifted to the territory of Viscount Mantis. She was also married by a farmer and gave birth to a son. However, Viscount Mantis was killed by Garros's army. Miss Cell and her family wanted to flee back to Azan, but on the way, Miss Cell's husband seemed to be bitten to death by a wild beast, leaving only Miss Cell and Little Pando. As a former Azan, Dahuang City was of course the first to take them in. Uncle Mark didn't want to take in Little Pando at first. After all, he had so many things to do. How could he have time to teach a little kid who knew nothing? Not to mention that he also suspected that Little Pando's husband might not have been bitten to death by a wild beast. But to be honest, he liked Little Pando very much. This child seemed to like plants very much since he was a child. He was around various crops all day long, and sometimes he could even sit under a mulberry tree for a whole day. After thinking about it, Uncle Mark said, how about this? Little Pando was 6 years old last year, right? Let him go to elementary school and study until he is 12 years old. If he is still willing, I will take him in as a disciple. Ah, study? Miss Cell frowned. They have only been in Dahuang for a few months, so they don't know much about these. She had heard that she could study before, but she didn't take it seriously. What can you do with studying? Can you eat? The family can't even support her, and she doesn't want her Little Pando to starve to death in the future. As if seeing her concerns, Uncle Mark smiled and said, if Little Pando studies, he may be able to earn more than a dozen Azan coins a month in the future. He knew that rural women like this were very short-sighted, and it was useless to talk about ideals and human rights. Only the real things were useful. What? 10 or so? Missia covered her mouth and exclaimed, and the Little Pando in her hand also broke free from her restraints. 1 Azan coin may require more than 3 gold coins to exchange. A person may only need 3 copper coins a day to solve the problem of food and clothing. A dozen Azan coins. Missia looked at her son, and the Little Pando looked scared. Uncle Mark smiled, but his mind was not here. As a research and development staff of the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Agriculture has been established for so long, and finally there are some things to be released at the press conference. After a few days, the largest auditorium in the wonderful land. This is the holy place in the minds of all performers. Only the most outstanding performers and the performers who receive the most cheers and cheers from the audience can perform here. Every year, there is only one chance. Just like the annual library knowledge quiz competition, the strongest gladiator battle in the arena, etc. Every year, there is an opportunity to perform in the highest auditorium. At that time, all places in Asang that have live broadcasts will come together to watch this feast. However, for the Great Wilderness City Hall, it is very easy to go to the auditorium. Simply put, press conference. There are 12 opportunities every year, and each department has 12 opportunities to hold a press conference. People from the newspaper will come to write news reports, and there will also be live broadcasts. But there is a requirement that it must be a truly meaningful and truly significant discovery. so not many people will use this opportunity. However, today, the auditorium is crowded with people, and the former popular newspaper reporters, writers, etc. gathered together. The photo stone for live broadcast has been placed. Today, the Ministry of Agriculture will hold the first press conference of the year. The Ministry of Agriculture generally doesn't have much to announce, and the same is true for the Ministry of Commerce. Press conferences are usually exclusive to the Ministry of Science, and there are some inventions and scientific research results every now and then. So much so that the Dahuang newspaper is now planning to work with the City Hall to create a special publication called Science, to publish the results of the Ministry of Science. The Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Industry also want to create 2 agriculture and industry magazines, which are also in the planning stage. Today, the press conference of the Ministry of Agriculture still attracted a lot of people. There were even 2 people in suits, a man and a woman, sitting in the front row, with magic notebooks and magic feather pens on the table in front of them. The reviewers of the City Hall. One person is responsible for the fund review work, and the other is responsible for the awarding of model workers. Fund review is to review the products of the press conference, and then decide the fund budget for the next year. Of course, Lin Ke has strictly set the minimum fund limit for each department, but not the maximum. But there will definitely be accountability if there is a problem. For example, the Ministry of Agriculture basically has the minimum limit every year. There is no way, there is no new product to show off, and the things that can be shown off are all things invented by Lin Ke. The Ministry of Science has the highest limit every year, which is what everyone expects. The girl who came to audit today was a professional accountant, and she was just going through the motions. Do you think the Ministry of Agriculture will have any good inventions today? I really want to try new fruits. The peppers that the Ministry of Agriculture made last time were pretty delicious. The female auditor chatted with the male auditor next to her in a relaxed manner. The male auditor was more serious. He first looked at his pocket watch and saw that there were still 5 minutes before the start. Then he said, as long as you create value for Dahuang City, and as long as you work hard, whether it is mental or physical labor, it's fine. That's not the right answer. The female auditor was helpless, but didn't say anything. After all, she was only auditing funds, and the person next to her was a model worker, not at the same level. When you arrive in Dahuang City, what do you need so much money for? For them, material enjoyment is far inferior to spiritual enjoyment. Alas, we accountants do a lot and are tired, and there is no performance to be awarded. I don't know when I can get a model worker in this life. The female auditor sighed. The male auditor glanced at her and said nothing. As former veterans of Azan, they were mentally strong and nothing could move them. Nothing. At this moment, the time was almost up, and an old farmer-looking man in sackcloth walked onto the stage of the auditorium with a little boy. He held the boy's hand with one hand and touched a potted plant that was glowing faintly with the other. There was a small tree on the potted plant, on which grew several bunches of large and plump rye, several dark mulberries, several bunches of crystal clear grapes. There were even potatoes, watermelons, quinoa, corn. So many things. The first sentence he said under the spotlight made the male and female auditors stand up together. Not only them, but the entire auditorium was in chaos. Because the old farmer-looking man said, this thing can be mass-produced. It will bear fruit once every small month, and 60 plants can feed one person. Chapter 319 The Birth of the Mark Tree. The auditorium was in chaos. Exclamations, doubts, inquiries, denials, all kinds of voices mixed in the hall, full of disbelief. The farmer above, no, that professional, must have 7 or 8 varieties of trees in his hand. Food, vegetables, fruits. The largest proportion is food, followed by vegetables, and finally fruits. Such trees, with only 60 plants, can feed one person? Exclamation mark. The key is that such trees can be mass-produced! Exclamation mark. Boiling. The whole auditorium was boiling. Does Nasan lack food? Yes, and no. As long as you are a noble, you will not lack food. What about the families of the members of the Everfrizz Council? What about the upper life of the Holy Life Alliance? They all have no shortage of food. They even have to demand taste, energy, race, and male and female. But what about other intelligent life? In the kingdom of Gila, countless civilians are not full. The whole of Nasan is the same. The people of the Everfriz Council, the ordinary life of the Holy Life Alliance and below. There are too many people. Too many people are not full. Most of the people of the scene were citizens of Dahuang City. Under Lin Ke's various ideas, they were not so selfish by nature. They were compassionate, they hated evil, they saved the dying and the wounded, and they adhered to justice. In addition to these, they could also think of other aspects. For example, the Ministry of Finance. They thought about how much foreign exchange reserves this thing could create for Dahuang City. Ministry of Finance, 1 million trees. The female examiner had forgotten the purpose of coming here and raised her hand directly. The press conference also means various orders. Such orders are often placed by outsiders. Generally speaking, the product orders of the science department are the most. However, today, why do you take so many? Our Ministry of Commerce wants 1 million trees. The people behind the female examiner also came forward. It turned out that someone from the Ministry of Commerce also came to see it today. The Ministry of Commerce is responsible for the internal and external sales of goods, which means that this tree should be sold. The Ministry of Finance has a different idea. The Ministry of Finance wants to distribute it, hire farmers to plant it, and then collect taxes and generate income. Moreover, the grain is in the hands of the city hall, which can also stabilize prices. Livra, why are you here? The female examiner turned her head and saw the figure of the female staff member of the Ministry of Finance with a bad face. Why can't I come? Liv chuckled, then looked at Uncle Mark above. I remember you are Mark from the Ministry of Agriculture, right? I asked for 1 million trees on behalf of Ms. Montenegro. As everyone knows, Liv is Ms. Montenegro's right-hand man, and the reporters hurriedly took notes of this scene. You know, the tree in the hands of the man named Mark on the stage caused 2 major departments of the city hall to fight for it. After all, it must be very troublesome to cultivate such trees, so it is very important who gets it first and who gets it later. The military wants it. Give as many as you can. However, what was unexpected was that the male examiner also stood up and raised his hand. So the whole audience was silent. The military, that's the military. Every department in the city hall is important, but relatively speaking, the military is the real backing of Dahuang City. During the period when Lin Ke was away, the military can be said to be the most important force to protect Dahuang City from external invasion. Since the military has taken action, there is nothing we can do. The Ministry of Agriculture can only try its best to satisfy the military. Uncle Mark on the stage nodded slightly and waited until the scene was quiet before continuing to speak. The Mark tree in my hand is the result of my hard work during this period of time. Of course, this is inseparable from the inspiration of Little Pando. Uncle Mark sighed and recounted the process of his invention. Of course, the main steps were omitted by him. This was mainly to create the R&D barriers that Lin Ke mentioned, so that others could not imitate it and could only purchase it from Dahuang City. But there are not many ways now. Uncle Mark has never seen the cells that Lin Ke mentioned. Fortunately, Lin Ke also said that, as long as the price, quality, and brand are deeply rooted in people's hearts, it doesn't matter whether there is a barrier or not, and consumers will definitely choose you. So, the price is 1 ASIN coin for 10 plants. Uncle Mark said, and my Mark tree has multiple combinations. There are also pure fruits, pure vegetables, pure grains, or other varieties, and there are quotas for ordering. Every region likes different things. Some places like quinoa, while others have a special liking for rye. For example, in desert areas, people may want to eat more fruits and vegetables, and in cold areas, people may want to eat more tropical fruits. These are market segments. Of course, Uncle Mark is not going to do this himself, because the Ministry of Commerce is here. Sure enough, when he was talking, Livra's eyes became brighter and brighter, and she secretly decided to let the head of the Ministry of Commerce go directly to the Ministry of Agriculture to ask for it. In the end, Uncle Mark's Mark Tree launch conference ended. This time the Ministry of Agriculture's launch conference was simple and hasty, but the impact was huge. There are no endless products, no ingenious gadgets, but with only the Mark Tree, the Ministry of Agriculture will almost surpass all other departments this year. The female and male examiners remembered their duties at this time, so they sat down and started to record in their notebooks. The female examiner wrote, "Mark tree, an economic crop, has extremely high economic value. It is recommended to increase the budget for next year." The male examiner wrote, "Mark's efforts are visible and obvious to all. This must be the result of a lot of mental and physical labor." The other reporters were also writing articles frantically. As for the live broadcast, the nobles and lords on the other side of the live broadcast were all excited. This crop can feed so many people. You know, whether it is the army or the people, if they can have this kind of thing, wouldn't they have nothing to worry about? In other words, when the lords go to open up the secondary plane, they can plant some of this kind of thing in the secondary plane, which will save the high cost of food transportation. Every time the food is transported, a large amount of magic crystals will be consumed. As for the Holy Life Alliance and the Everfrizz Council, including the Far West countries, as long as there is a live broadcast stone, everyone is stunned. This kind of thing is too suitable for raising people in the tribe, or raising people in the family. The products of the Great Wilderness must be fine products. On the other side of the live broadcast, Uncle Mark, who had completed the report and release, also took Little Pando away. By the way, he also took Little Pando to report to the school. However, the frenzy set off by the Great Wilderness is not limited to this. A few days later, news came from the Abyss live broadcast. Count Lin Ke not only wrote books and painted, but also supported a local force. And that local force actually discovered a race that can produce condensed gold essence, mithril and iron marrow in a place. Great discovery. Coupled with the birth of the Mark tree, Dahuang City is already at the center of the storm. Chapter 320 The Mysterious Guardian. Azan Castle. Madame Antao walked quickly through the corridor, and then came to the door of Feudal's bedroom, slowing down her pace. Standing at the door, she raised her hand to knock on the door, but hesitated. "Sister, come in." Feudal's voice rang from inside the door. "I heard your footsteps." Antao didn't know why her light footsteps could be heard by Feudal, but she still opened the door after hearing it. Inside the door, Feudal was teaching Xiao Nuomi to read on a chair, and there were two huge beasts lying at her feet. One was a cheetah, and the other was a dark blue tiger. The two cats were lying down to rest, and when they saw Antao coming in, they only opened their eyes for a moment, and closed their eyes again, when they saw that it was an acquaintance. Normally, the servants of Azan Castle were familiar with these two cats. After all, they were raised by Antao and Feudal since they were young. "Mom, hug." Xiao Nuomi saw Antao coming in, stretched out her chubby little hands, and smiled. When Antova saw Xiao Nuomi, the nervous expression on her face relaxed, revealing a hint of maternal smile, and she went forward to pick up Xiao Nuomi. "Did you listen to Second Mother today?" "Yes, yes." Two dimples appeared on Xiao Nuomi's face. "Xiao Nuomi is the best. Second Mother smells good. I like it." "Okay." Antova touched Xiao Nuomi's head, smiling. "Sister, what happened?" Feudal looked at Antova with a smile, as if it was the same as usual. Antova hesitated for a moment before saying, "Sister, don't go out recently. Just stay in the castle." "No, sister, take Xiao Nuomi to live in the Great Wilderness Tower for a while." "What's wrong, sister? Let's go together." Feudal's eyes were puzzled. "With the Princess of Mist here, and the Marquis of Giant Sword taking care of us, will anyone have any ideas about us?" Feudal was already in her 30s, but she still looked so young, with fair and delicate skin, just like in her 20s. Antova's skin seemed to be a little older, but overall she still looked charming. It's hard to say. Antao talked about recent events. Feudal knew that there were races in the Noble Council that could produce gold essence, mithril, and iron marrow. However, Feudal didn't know about the new discovery of the Ministry of Agriculture. After hearing what Antao said, Feudal also realized the seriousness of the matter. The center of the storm. Dahuang City is at the center of the storm, and so is Azan. The races that can produce gold essence, mithril, and iron marrow are already very rare. Dahuang City has even produced something like the Mark tree. Other things in the past were just small gadgets at most, but the Mark tree is different. This is a strategic material. Even legends and gods may take action with this kind of thing. After all, many legends have their own forces to support, not to mention gods. As long as there is food in many secondary planes, there are countless believers. Sister, let's do this. You go to Dahuang City and I'll stay here. Feudal looked at Antao with a firm look in his eyes. What? No, you go to the Great Wasteland City. Antova was a little surprised, but still shook her head and refused. If you fall into the hands of the enemy, Lin Ke will be passive. No, if I go to the Great Wasteland City, then the Great Wasteland City will fall into a passive position. A certain light flashed in Feudal's eyes, and sister, Lin Ke left me a backup plan. Generally, legends will come and never return. Backup plan? Antova was skeptical. Yes, sister, I will stay and take charge of the situation in Aznan. I'll leave the Great Wasteland City to you. Feudal nodded slightly, and then said, we can't be a burden to Lin Ke. Antova frowned and thought about it, and she also had a plan in her mind, so she said, okay, you stay here, then I will go to the Great Wasteland City. I have some arrangements, and I will let Aofi tell you later. She picked up Naomi, and walked out in a hurry. She planned to let Ms. Black Mountain invite to legends back at that time. After all, many of the power of the Great Wasteland City is in the open, and she needs to prepare one or two hidden in the dark as a trump card. Now, she went to the Great Wasteland City, and then asked the Princess of Mist to come and guard the Azan Castle. No one would have thought that the Princess of Mist who guarded the Great Wasteland City would go to the Azan Castle. After all, in the eyes of everyone, the Great Wasteland City is the top priority, and Azan is just a small viscount. However, there are so many Warcraft kings in the Great Wasteland City that it is difficult to break through. But it is not certain. Antao went to the city hall now, because the city hall is now leaderless. Whether it is Watson from the Ministry of Industry, Jack from the Ministry of Personnel, or Lady Montenegro, Chanelco, etc., they are unable to command the overall situation. And Tao's identity can barely convince everyone. It is not bad to leave Feudal alone in Azan and attract all the firepower to the Great Wasteland City. Remember who you are? And Tao looked at the personal maid next to her. I'm Feudal, sister. The personal maid said. Okay. And Tao nodded, then took the personal maid's hand and went downstairs. As they went downstairs, servants kept packing up and going out, leaving only a few to serve Feudal. When they arrived at the door, and Tao looked at a guard and said, after Feudal and I leave, Azan Castle will be closed. You should return to the village as soon as possible. In addition, remember to notify the Azan Legion and go to Dahuang City to receive orders. Yes, the guard replied. And Tao looked at Azan Castle behind her, hoping that Feudal could survive this danger. At the same time, she also wrote a letter and sent it to the Abyss, but she didn't know if it could be delivered in time. But on the other hand, she also knew that Lin Ke must have left them a backup plan, but she didn't know where this backup plan was. In short, what they have to do now is to ensure the safety of her and Feudal, which is the most important thing. Because she knows that relatives are Lin Ke's weak point. Therefore, the two sisters must not let Lin Ke be threatened and fall into a passive situation. And Tower took Naomi and hurriedly boarded the Gila ox cart. The group rushed to the Great Wall Fortress, where there was a train to the Great Wasteland City every day. In particular, after she said hello, two Warcraft kings came to see each other off. After a while, and Tower, who was frightened in the ox cart, heard shouts from outside. How dare you? Get out of the way, this is the carriage of Madame Azanan. Ah. Enemy attack. And Tower heard fighting outside. The professionals who came to join Azanan in recent years were fighting fiercely. However, it didn't take long for the outside to calm down. And Tower's heart tightened. Naomi was also frightened beside her, but she didn't cry. Tears were rolling in her eyes. Tap, tap, tap. A sound came from outside, the sound of someone slowly approaching the carriage. Sister, you go first. The personal maid next to Antower stood up at this time, with a firm look in her eyes. Antower was about to speak, but her daughter gently pulled her hand. Little Naomi's eyes were full of tears, but her eyes were very clear. Let's go. Antower was shocked, and thought of the overall situation. So she picked up little Naomi, got out from behind the ox cart, and hid in the woods next to it. Outside the ox cart, there were corpses everywhere. All the guards, servants, and professionals of Azane Castle were brutally killed. 5 people in black robes stood in place and looked at the personal maid who came out. Fron. The black-robed man in the lead asked indifferently. I'm Fron, the mother of Earl Lin Ke. If you hurt me, I will definitely. The personal maid held her head high, and an inexplicable pride filled her chest. As expected of Earl Lin Ke's biological mother, you are really arrogant. The black-robed man chuckled and waved his hand behind him. Take him away. A person came out from behind him. His body turned into a black shadow and pounced forward, and got into the shadow of the personal maid. The figure of the personal maid suddenly became stiff, and her body was controlled. My lord, the one who ran away seems to be the wife of Earl Lin Ke, from the Brando family of the Gila Kingdom. A man in black robe said to the leader. It's no use, just kill him. The leader of the black robe waved his hand lightly, and the black robed man who had just asked disappeared in a flash. The leader of the black robe waited for a few seconds, but suddenly looked at the sky not far away, and squinted his eyes. The guys from the Marquis of Giant Sword are here. Go find number 5, and then retreat. After saying that, several people turned into black shadows, and disappeared in place. On the other side, Antawa ran away frantically. Her skin was pierced by tough branches and her cheeks were scratched by sharp leaves, but she didn't care. Gradually, the sounds in the woods seemed to quiet down, and a strong momentum chased after her. Antawa's heart trembled. She knew it very well. This was the breath of a professional. Little Naomi, run. Run forward. Antawa knew that, if she stayed behind, to deal with the situation, little Naomi might still have a chance to escape. You know, go find Granny Zase, go find Aunt Hishan, go find them. Little Naomi is very smart. Mom believes you can do it. Antawa put little Naomi down and immediately walked in the opposite direction. Little Naomi was also very smart when she was young. When she was young, she followed Lin Ke and was taken by Lin Ke to roll around in the Great Swamp. She was also chased by Lin Ke to teach her all kinds of things. She was smart and clever. At this time, she knew that she had to run, and it would be best to get to the fortress quickly and find someone to come back and save her. So little Naomi ran quickly in the jungle. Thanks to Lin Ke's crazy play with her when she was young, she was now faster in the jungle than on flat ground, faster than Antawa. While running, big tears fell, and there was a little bit of evil in her young eyes, looking fierce and fierce. I will let my brother kill all of you. She ran wildly while crying. She didn't dare to look back at all. At this time, Antawa tidied her appearance and restored the demeanor of the eldest lady of Azan. There were still drops of blood on her cheeks, and many clothes on her arms and thighs were torn by branches. But she looked noble and proud, with her head held high and her hands folded on her lower abdomen, looking indifferently at the black-robed man, who was chasing her. Seeing Antawa's demeanor, the black-robed man hesitated for a moment. Whose people are you? Antawa looked at the black-robed man quietly, but holding a dagger in her palm. When the black-robed man approaches, she will commit suicide. She will never be the one who drags down Lin Ke and the Azan family. As expected of the eldest lady of Azan, your demeanor is much higher than that of the second lady. The black-robed man glanced at the position of the second lady's right hand intentionally or unintentionally, and smiled disdainfully. Do you think you have a chance to commit suicide? No matter what you want to do, I will not give in. Antawa said this, and prepared to commit suicide. Before Antawa could finish, the black-robed man leaped forward, his body turned into a black shadow, and instantly wrapped around Antawa's arm. However, at this moment, a blade fell from the sky, and cut the black shadow wrapped around Antawa's arm. Puff. Although it was just a shadow, there was an obvious sound of a sharp weapon entering flesh. Who is it? The black shadow turned into a black-robed man again, but the black-robed man's left arm was directly cut off, and was dripping blood. No one answered the black-robed man, and Antawa opened her eyes, puzzled. In the sky, a figure wrapped in scarlet fell from the sky. The moment it landed, the scarlet meaning spread like blood plasma, and instantly filled the entire forest. Level 16. The black-robed man widened his eyes. In front of him, a graceful woman appeared and looked at him indifferently. Then, the black-robed man's eyes suddenly filled with incredible fear, and then the light in his eyes gradually faded, and he fell unconscious with a thump. The woman looked up, Her face was blurred and unrecognizable. She looked at Antova, then looked in another direction, where some other black-robed people were rushing towards her. She waved her hand, and Antova fainted. She picked up Antova, and rushed towards Naomi. Behind her, the black-robed people rushed over, and the leader of the black-robed people looked around with a gloomy face. In addition to the giant sword and the others, does Azan have other guardians above level 15? No one answered. Forget it, Feudal is enough. Looking behind him, and then looking at the direction where the mysterious woman fled, the leader of the black-robed people waved his hand. Go. Several black shadows disappeared in an instant, but they fled directly. The Great Wall Fortress. At this time, in the sky above the Great Wall Fortress, 4 extremely powerful auras were confronting each other. HMPH. To legends from the secondary plane. Do you think you can't tell who your master is? Bloodthirsty Iron Bull stood high in the sky, looking at the 2 strange legends opposite him, with dark light coming out of his body. Your Highness Lin Ke is right. Within a year, after he goes to the nobles' deliberation, there will definitely be clowns jumping out. Next to Bloodthirsty Iron Bull was a giant python, the legendary Warcraft king, the green water python. On the other side, the 2 legends confronting them said nothing. Hey, that's your Highness Lin Ke's aunt, Mizantower, right? Bloodthirsty Iron Bull looked not far away, and widened his eyes. The green water python also looked over. However, just as their attention was attracted, the 2 strange legends attacked them. At the same time, a star-level powerhouse. As soon as a star-level powerhouse appeared, he almost instantly came to the mysterious woman who was running over, and injured the woman with 1 blow. The mysterious woman did not want to fight, and directly threw Antova and Naomi towards a certain direction of the Great Wall Fortress. 4 legends were fighting, and a star level was watching. The unconscious Antova and Naomi fell into a pair of bloody hands after a parabola. The owner of the hands gently hugged Antova and Naomi, looked at the mysterious woman who was going away in confusion, and murmured, "Front, the breath of Madam Front." More chapters today. Please vote for me at the end of the month. Exclamation mark. Chapter 321. Backup Plan 1. Powerful heroic guardian. The man's 10 fingers were bloody, as if he had been tortured beyond imagination. But his eyes were calm. He looked at the woman who was going away, as if he could sense Feudal's aura, but it was a little strange. So he shook his head, and put Antova and Naomi behind him. Then he looked at the star-level being. Go away, this is Azan's territory. His hands naturally fell on both sides. His nails were completely broken, and his fingertips were bloody. But his eyes were as bright as stars. Who are you? I've never heard of someone like you in Azan. The star-level strongman landed on the ground, with a thin whip in each hand. It seems that you are not from the secondary plane. Very good. This way, Master Lin Ke will know your identity. The man with broken fingers looked at the star level with a calm face. Haha, is that you? 19th level? You want to face me at 19th level? The star level being holding a whip sensed the aura of the other side, and was full of disdain. This is nothing, and there is a huge difference between each level, not to mention after level 15. The difference between level 19 and level 20 is greater than the difference between level 1 and level 19. It's me. The man's face was calm. I'm the follower of Master Lin Ke, heroic spirit guardian King Che. King Che looked at the man, and a momentum suddenly rose from his body. In the process, the wall behind him suddenly trembled slightly. The wall of Azan. On this wall, there are densely engraved crookedness and common language. Every brick is a person's name. And behind these names, they represent the dead heroes. The heroic spirits of Azan. Protect Azan again. The white light in King Che's eyes burst out, and energy burst out from him, and gathered in the wall behind him. Sensing the vague crisis, the star-level existence no longer waited, and waved the long whip with both hands at the same time. The long whip suddenly emitted waves, strangling King Che. King Che. Just then, a blurry figure emerged from the wall. This was a man wearing the uniform of Azan's male soldiers. The first thing he did, when he came out of the wall, was to call out the name of his lover. King Che trembled, but did not look back. The heroic spirit did not say much, but came to King Che first, and turned into the armor on King Che's body. The attack of the star-level existence did not even get close, and was dispersed by King Che's wave of his hand. Then, one after another, the heroic spirits walked out of the wall and turned into the power of King Ke. King Ke's aura rose, and thus it was raised to the level of star level. After all this time, it's just a star level? Haha. The star level enemy sneered, and the double whip swung out a mysterious trajectory again, as if two big snakes were rushing to bite. King Ke raised his right hand, and a red light rose from his palm, forming a sword, and his left hand formed a shield again. Red, that is the color of Aznan. The Azan people are not afraid of fighting. King Ke flew up with a sword and shield in hand. Behind him, there were endless heroic spirits. King Ke wanted to fight in close combat, but the Xinghu level existence wielded a long whip very flexibly, firmly resisting King Ke from a distance. At the same time, the mysterious woman who was supposed to have gone far away just now returned at some point, with a thick wave of blood and a terrifying murderous aura, as if many lives had died under her knife. King Ke glanced at the mysterious woman, but was surprised to find Madame Feudal. King Ke exclaimed. The mysterious woman over there raised her head. Her face was so blurred that she couldn't see her appearance at all, but King Ke could feel it from her breath. Fight the enemy, Feudal said concisely, and a voice came out of her faceless face, and then the blood wave that followed her enveloped Xinghu. King Ke calmed his mind, and didn't care why Feudal, who was usually weak in his impression, suddenly turned into a level 16 strongman. Now, fight the enemy well. One by one, heroic spirits leaped out of the wall of Azan, and gradually, even heroic spirits came out of the land. They defended Azan in their lifetime, and after death, they became heroic spirits to protect Azan. This is one of the basic abilities of Heroic Spirit Guard, summoning heroic spirits to fight against foreign enemies. HMPH. The star level enemy waved his long whip, and Feudal and King Ke could not get close within 10 meters. Seeing this, King Ke pulled back and pointed to the star level from a distance, as in judgment. Suddenly, countless heroic spirits in his body roared out, and one by one, with a determined look, they rushed towards the star level. The star level man was startled, and the long whip shook again, and layers of ripples enveloped his body. At this time, Feudal also threw the blade in his hand towards the head of the star level man. The knife was not long or big, and it looked like a slightly longer dagger. The short knife flew out, and it could even cut through the ripples of the long whip waved by the star level man. Two powerful moves came at once, but the star level man's face calmed down. He threw a moldy orange from his arms, put it in his mouth, and took a bite, then took out a wooden needle like a reed and spit it towards Feudal. A drop of dark green liquid shot out from it, and hit Feudal's flying dagger, and unexpectedly stopped the dagger that was cutting through the space. The drop of liquid solidified in the air, neither moving forward nor backward, but the dagger was deadlocked for a long time before falling. Then, the drop of dark green liquid flew towards Feudal like a wolfhound that smelled the scent of prey. Feudal's movements were not a bit flustered, and he waved at the dagger he threw out. At the same time, the blood waves around him rolled out to block the drop of liquid, fighting and retreating. On the other side, the starlight level man directly held two long whips in his right hand and swung them hard at the whistling heroic spirits. Wind imprisonment. A mysterious law swayed from the whip, but the heroic spirits were not affected at all. Seeing this, the starlight level man raised his eyebrows and was about to attack again, but saw King Ke pointing at him again, as in hell. Suddenly, sections of illusory arms stretched out from the ground and grabbed the starlight level man's legs. The starlight level man ignored it and did not fly into the sky, but a dense magic protective shield appeared on his body. I will leave you to Master Lin Ke to deal with. King Ke looked indifferent, but two lines of blood and tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. Suddenly, those arms surged out more crazily and grabbed the starlight level man's legs. The layers of protective shield seemed illusory and could not stop those arms at all. At the same time, the heroic spirits also arrived, and one by one they pounced on the starlight level man and passed through him. The body solidified a little in the process, but the man's face turned pale. The star level man suddenly panicked. This is not the undead. This is not a soul. My lord. No. I said, they are heroic spirits, not undead. King Ke wiped the blood and tears from his face. They carry the breath of Aznan. How can you stop them with the means of blocking the undead? Chapter 322 Azan's turmoil. No. The star level man's eyes widened, and his body turned into a gust of wind, showing a tendency to elementalize. However, the elementalized body could not stop the heroic spirits from absorbing his laws. Become immortal again, arrogant guy. King Ke was already sitting on the ground because of the excessive consumption, but his face was still calm. Under the continuous absorption of the heroic spirits, the dignified star level existence was sucked straight and fainted. King Ke looked at Feudal over there, but saw that after the drop of dark green liquid stopped, Feudal's figure had also retreated. Madam Feudal, why is there such a strong murderous aura? King Ke frowned, always feeling that the breath of Feudal just now was ambiguous. But after all, she is one of his own people. King Ke estimated that Feudal was also one of the backups left by his young master. Brother. A voice came from behind King Ke, but it was Xiao Nuomi who came over timidly. Miss, let's go. King Ke smiled, squatted down, picked up Antua, and took Xiao Nuomi back to the wall of Azanan, looking up at the sky. In the sky, the two legends were beaten back by the bloodthirsty Iron Bull and the green water python. After all, they were legends of the secondary plane, and they were definitely not comparable to the legends of the main plane like Nassim. Although King Ke could slightly affect the battle in the sky, it was more important to protect Antua and Xiao Nuomi to hide in the Great Wilderness. At this time, in the Great Wilderness City, the citizens still lived leisurely, and on their days off, they went to the library to read books, to the wonderful land to watch a play, to the arena to fight, and to the big shopping malls to shop. They didn't have to repay loans, didn't have to work 996 or 007, and they had enough food and warm clothes. Even if a small number of people repaid their loans, they were from official banks with very low interest rates, and there was almost no pressure. If you want to make money, as long as you work hard, you can make a lot of money, especially the trade between Dahuang City and other areas outside. If you work hard, go to a big mall, sell some furniture, and make a fortune. If you have skills, make something else unique to Dahuang City and sell it. You can make a lot of money. Even if you don't have skills, you can go to school to sign up for an adult technical class. Sometimes there are even professionals teaching in the technical class. There are many ways to make money. In other words, if you want to survive, there are many ways. If you want to live well, as long as you are willing to work hard, there are also many ways. But the minds of the citizens of Dahuang are not on making money. They care more about a kind of spiritual enjoyment. For example, winning 100 consecutive victories in the arena, such as winning the annual Knowledge Learning Figure Award of the Great Library, such as the best character of the year selected by the Wonderful Land, etc. There are also annual model worker reviews and the top 10 people who moved Dahuang City. If you can be awarded by the official, it is simply the supreme honor. Like the other day, the outstanding contribution model worker among the model workers was awarded to the person named Mark from the Ministry of Agriculture. Mark even announced the establishment of a family and became the first in the family tree. In the future, even if Mark becomes a ghost, he will be the ghost of the ancestors, and he is qualified to walk the path of the gods. Moreover, if he can join the army, if he can follow Master Link, or even become Master Link's follower one day, that would be even more exciting. The Great Wasteland City does not have the aristocratic fiefdom, but it would be a great honor if it could be broadcast under the Great Wasteland Tower and included in the Hall of Outstanding Figures in the City Hall. The City Hall has set up a Hall of Outstanding Figures at the bottom of the Great Wasteland Tower. Every class of students must visit these people who have made outstanding contributions to the Great Wasteland City at a fixed time. Mark was proud to announce that he would establish a family and pass on the glory from generation to generation because he won this year's Outstanding Contribution Model Worker Award and sent his name and portrait to the Hall of Outstanding Figures. As for the heir of the family, Mark has thought about it. If nothing unexpected happens, it will be Xiao Pando. In fact, Pando should have a share of the Outstanding Contribution Model Worker. After all, 99% of the effort also needs that 1% of inspiration to wake up. But Pando's mother is very smart. She let her child give up this contribution and instead asked to become Mark's successor. Mark liked Pando in the first place, so of course he agreed directly, which led to a good story. So, after ensuring that they can survive, everyone began to pursue life. You have a lot of money, and you earned it through improper means? Sorry, I look down on you. You have a lot of money, and you earned it through normal labor or wisdom? Well, this is worthy of respect. No matter how much money you have, but you have made outstanding contributions. I not only respect you, but also worship you, and want to be you. The citizens of Dahuang who have lived a hard life live here with a spirited and hopeful attitude. Even Lin Ke didn't know that he originally wanted to create an independent and autonomous race that does not believe in fate, but only believes in itself, does not seek gods and legends, but only seeks to communicate thoughts. This ethnic group now has a blind and strong worship of him. Belief comes from worship. Moreover, belief also comes from fear. Just today, the well-off citizens of Dahuang were walking on the clean and tidy streets, busy at work or resting. The sky has changed. In a certain milk tea shop, a young woman wearing a light green limited edition Azan brand short-sleeved shirt was waiting in line for the latest milk tea in this store. There was no way this milk tea shop chain in Dahuang would preheat the new milk tea a few days in advance, so that it was always in short supply. Damn Zyro Lin Ke, let the vampire ball jack control these companies, it's really annoying. The young woman muttered in a low voice, let me help him guard Dahuang, but the VIP card I was given was only the first level, which is too much. Thinking of the hateful guy Boldjack, and the even more hateful Lin Ke who said the words hunger marketing, the young woman became even more angry. No 9527, is customer number 9527 here? Your lucky jade fruit milk is ready. At this time, the busy and exhausted clerk shouted, and the young woman's eyes suddenly lit up. She hurried forward. Here, I'm number 9527. I'm number 9527. Although the clerk was tired, he still smiled and handed over a glass cup. Dear customer, you know the rules for recycling glass bottles. Okay. The young woman couldn't wait to take the glass cup, and took a big sip. It tasted so good that her eyes narrowed, resurrected. As expected of someone Zio Mushu likes, a needle doesn't poke. However, at this time, a series of muffled sounds rang out in the cloudless sky of Dahuang City. Boom boom. At the same time, a figure appeared in the void. The young woman frowned hard. If a big swamp fly stopped there, it would probably be pinched to death by her eyebrows in an instant. She looked at the milk tea in her hand that she had queued for an hour to buy. After a few big gulps, she didn't have time to taste it. 1 hour. Father Wumian, I'm going to kill a lot today. The young woman smacked her lips hard and her body disappeared in the street in an instant. She first flashed to the recycling place for glass bottles, put the glass bottles back, and then flashed to the Great Wasteland Tower. From here, we can see the rigor of this book. After all, how can other novels have such detailed descriptions of the strong before the war? When she stood on the top of the Great Wasteland Tower with a frown, there was even a trace of pure white lucky flowers and gilla milk juice at the corners of her mouth. Mist Banshee, you still have time to leave now. An old voice came down in a mighty way, and a group of uneven figures appeared in the sky above the Great Wasteland City. Who did I think it was? A group of secondary plane legends who hide their heads and show their tails. The Misty Princess sneered, murderous. The area below her head suddenly turned into a thick light grey mist, which instantly spread out with the Great Wasteland City as the center. Although she wanted to go up a few times to get rid of the garbage and then go back to line up, she was not stupid and knew that the first thing to do at this time was to arrange her brother-in-law's industry. At this time, countless people in the Great Wasteland City looked up at the sky. Look, that's the Princess of Mist. Haha, a group of clowns are here again. It's been so many times since the establishment of the science department. This time, it seems that they have set their sights on Uncle Mark's mark tree. The citizens have sharp eyes. After the special adult class education at Dahuang Primary School, many citizens are getting smarter. What is the purpose of continuing education? It is not to make people empiricist and dogmatic. It is to cultivate people's logic and methodology for discovering problems, thinking about problems and solving problems. After getting rid of heavy labor, there is more time to think, and the citizens are smarter. Of course, they also understand who is good to them. At this time, although the citizens are not panicked, they still subconsciously follow the knowledge they learned in school and run to various shelters to hide, trying not to cause trouble to the defense force. A mere legend can't stop us. At this time, the old voice in the sky snorted coldly, as if angered by the contempt of the mist banshee. Waste legends. No matter how many of them come, it doesn't matter. The mist banshee was still disdainful, and her body completely sank into the mist. Only her voice echoed within a radius of thousands of miles. If you have the guts, come in and I'll kill you. How big is the Great Wasteland City? Lin Ke originally built it according to the east of Banyu, the north of Shanghai, and the south of Guangzhou. Now, although the Great Wasteland City is not completely filled, it can be considered very large. But with the power of the mist, it is easy to cover such a city. After all, it is too much to affect a girl's afternoon tea. Roar, roar. At the same time, roars of beasts sounded, and several large and small monsters rose into the air from the Great Wasteland City. The King of Warcraft. The King of Warcraft of the Great Wasteland City. In other words, these are the King of Warcraft of the entire lava swamp. More than a dozen Kings of Warcraft rose into the air, passing through the mist, and the momentum of legends was exuded without reservation. Only 30 legends, and they are trash from the secondary plane. Who gave you the courage? The shrill voice of the phoenix was extremely penetrating, causing the legends in the sky to change color. The magic beasts, led by the phoenix, were huge, and they were definitely not something that the legends could contend with. But seeing the faces of those legends, the Mist Princess was a little confused. Legends from the secondary planes, how could they have the courage to attack the Great Wasteland City? There must be someone driving them. But the driver couldn't be unaware of the situation in the Great Wasteland City. Why did the Great Wasteland City stand as before? It's because there are dozens of magic beast kings here. As the three major magic beast gathering places in Asing, the magic beast kings of the lava swamp are not inferior to the magic beasts of the elemental forest and the ocean of stars and waves. Apart from the Emperor Wumian, the strongest man in the main plane who suppressed the world for a lifetime, who else can easily suppress a dangerous place? So, are these legends here to die? Something's wrong. At this time, the Mist Banshee felt a little uneasy. She used her soul power to convey to those beast kings, be careful, damn, something is wrong. The body of the Misty Princess condensed again on the top of the Great Wilderness Tower and scanned the surroundings. The illusion of the earth. The Misty Banshee whispered, her eyes turned pure white, and the end of her light green hair seemed to turn into a snake's mouth, spewing out milky white mist. The mist seemed to be heavier than golden dun. It fell to the ground quickly after it was spewed out, but after it hit the ground, it was as soft and tough as the silk thread spit out by the green silkworm. The whole Great Wilderness City was filled with fog, and even penetrated into the ground, but it did not affect the normal activities of the citizens at all. It even began to spread outside the Great Wilderness City. While the Misty Banshee was conducting a carpet search, the legends in the sky seemed to have received some signal, and launched attacks one by one. The legends can already tear the space in atom. If one is not good, the Great Wilderness City may even be wiped out by the aftermath of the legends attack. But how could Lin Ke not have thought about it? Great Wilderness Barrier. Architect Velen's voice came out of the Great Wilderness Tower in a solemn but firm voice. Zzzz. A layer of lightning spread out from the top of the Great Wilderness Tower, and quickly spread around with the top of the tower as the center, helping the Mist Banshee to protect the Great Wilderness. The Mist Banshee, who was investigating the situation, also instantly sensed something wrong. In a small park, a green bamboo shoot emerged from the soil, lush and green. Forest hut? You people from the far west countries are getting bolder and bolder. I will go to the elemental forest myself some other day, to see where you can hide. The Mist Banshee snorted coldly, and the milky white mist rushed towards the bamboo shoot like a flood. The originally green bamboo shoot suddenly changed, turning into a green bamboo in just 1 second, and then the bamboo turned into a bamboo forest in an instant. The mist was like a flood, but when it hit the bamboo forest, it was like hitting a rock in the river. The bamboo forest did not move at all, occupying the entire small park. The 5-colored dragon mother seized our bloodline rule emerald tree court back then. Today, we are just here to take a little insignificant compensation. Well, equal exchange, contract spirit, isn't this what you Gula people like? A young man's voice rang out from the bamboo forest, full of indifference and teasing. The citizens around were very smart and stayed away from the park one by one. 22nd level, Tree Shepherd? The Mist Princess still sneered. What about me? A voice came out, and this voice was full of arrogance. Suddenly, the Mist Princess narrowed her eyes. Yo, Forest Cabin wants to lose the air here? Today is still 4,000 words. 2 consecutive days of extra chapters. Please vote for the monthly ticket at the end of the month. Chapter 323, The Fury of the Mist Princess. The Far West countries are just a general term. They represent the various small forces in the west of the Nathan continent. For example, various independent principalities, such as various organizations. There are forest huts, dazzling white watchtowers, black banshee plateaus, etc. Various forces have taken root. The Far West countries border the Holy Life Alliance and the Everfrest Council, but there is an elemental forest between them and the Gila Kingdom. Of course, this does not mean that the Far West countries are not within the control of the Abyss. On the contrary, there is still a question mark as to how many Gila forces there are in the Far West countries. Princess Misty looked at the forces belonging to the forest hut walking out of the bamboo forest, and her eyes were suddenly filled with a chill. Forest hut, betrayal, have you thought about it? Princess Misty's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Honorable Princess Misty, you should know that the Forest Lodge has never been a vassal of the Gila Kingdom. I think none of the Far West countries have publicly stated that they are vassal of the Gila Kingdom. Do you think this is a betrayal? 3 people walked out of the Forest Lodge. The leading man had 2 slender deer horns on his head and a slightly arched nose. His upper body was human, but his lower body was a full-legged deer body. It turned out to be a rare deer man. The other 2 were ordinary deer men, with deer features above their heads and bodies that looked no different from humans except for the hair. Since it is not my Gila's power, wait to be destroyed. The Princess of Misty replied indifferently, then flipped her hand and took out a light green staff, and her body turned into mist along with the staff. Son of the forest, be careful. The Mist Banshee is a level 23 existence. An old man next to the deer man was alert. Haha, just missed. If I were born 300 years earlier, all the children of Wumian would be trampled under my feet. The deer man, young man, known as the Son of the Forest, looked arrogant. However, when he saw the Princess of Mist take out her staff, his eyebrows twitched. It was obvious that she was not as fearless as he said. Endless mist rolled towards the 3 people. The grey color had a deadly feeling. Lush field. Another young man next to the Son of the Forest took out a handful of leaves from his arms and threw them out. Each of those leaves flashed green fluorescence and flew lightly towards the mist. There was a string of faint light points connecting these leaves, and a large number of small flowers and grasses were born on the ground wherever they passed. This string of leaves formed the shape of a mysterious beast, and it rushed straight into the thick fog, then circled around the 3 people quickly to block the influx of fog. Erosion. The voice of the Princess of Mist came, and the fog surged and boiled, as if there was some change, but it seemed that it had not changed. But the mysterious beast formed by the leaves roared to the sky, as if it was in pain, and the connection between the light points of the leaves was suddenly disconnected. The originally green leaves suddenly turned into a ball of grey mist, and merged into the surrounding mist. Skill, Mist Erosion. Pure green oak talisman. The Son of the Forest shouted, and a large number of flowers and plants suddenly grew on his body, covering him like armor. At the same time, a mysterious circular rune appeared on his forehead. He waved his hand and took out a slender sword from the space ring, raised it high, then pushed forward with all 4 feet and swung the rapier in his hand fiercely. The rapier collided with the mist, but it was like the collision of metal and iron, making a clanging sound. Legendary weapon. The Mist Banshee exclaimed. The Son of the Forest laughed triumphantly when he heard it. Ha ha ha. This is what we got. Then the pure green oak talisman on his forehead turned into a ball of mist in an instant, pouring into the rolling mist around. The long sword corroded in an instant and turned into mist. What a great legendary weapon. The Mist Goddess exclaimed again, as if she was playing with something. Give it back to me. The Son of the Forest was stunned for a moment, only to find that his pure green oak talisman had been taken away. Thank you for your gift. The Mist Banshee chuckled and put the thing into the space ring. The connection between the Son of the Forest and the pure green oak talisman was completely severed. You are looking for death. In anger, the son of the forest winked at the two people behind him. Suddenly, the two people also came forward, and the energy on their bodies was boiling. Forest storm. The son of the forest was extremely angry. He took out 2 leaves from the space ring and tore them into pieces, then opened his arms. The other 2 were the same. The leaves in their hands seemed to be some kind of divine objects. 1 21st level, 2 22nd levels. Who gave you the courage? The voice of the mist banshee also became cold. I won't play with you anymore. I'll catch you first. The mist banshee lost her patience. She originally thought that there would be other forces. But since there were only 3 idiots, or only 3 idiots appeared, she would deal with them first. In an instant, the mist that was originally rolling freely fluctuated regularly, as if responding to some kind of rules. The forest storm of the 3 people was also ready. Wow. Countless green, yellow, or bright leaves and petals spread out from the 3 people as a center, as if a huge hurricane was taking shape. This hurricane contained huge energy, as well as the laws of the forest and the laws of the wind. However, the mist banshee also used her most powerful skills in an instant. The mist containing various laws came overwhelmingly, just like the raging waves in the sea. A huge wave collided fiercely with the forest storm, generating a powerful energy that instantly tore through the space. A thick space crack appeared on the spot, tearing through the mist and passing through. An entire block collapsed, and hundreds of people died at the same time. Dad Woomian, are you messing with me? The voice of the mist princess suddenly became sharp. The purpose of these 3 people has never been the mist, but the great wasteland city? Exclamation mark. Princess Misty was furious. The grey fog suddenly surged and covered the entire great wasteland city. From the outside, it looked like a large mass of fog covering the earth, and no buildings could be seen clearly. At the same time, in an instant, all the grey fog turned black. The black fog exuded an unknown, mysterious, and terrifying atmosphere. Fear comes from the unknown. In the dark fog, every particle was trembling, and then this fluctuation was transmitted to the Princess Misty. The Princess Misty materialized the light green staff and drew a mysterious mark. Bang! All the green around the 3 people in the forest hut turned black in an instant, and the colorful flowers that were originally blooming on the son of the forest also withered and turned to gray in an instant. This is impossible. What skill is this? The expressions of the 3 of them suddenly became panic, and then they were swallowed up in a struggle. In the sky, the legends were still fighting, but the great wasteland city was still shrouded in black fog, and no one could peek. Chapter 324. Destroy the Giller royal family? Princess Misty walked out of the great wasteland city. She licked her lips and said, "It tastes good." It seems that what Andrew said may not be right. Humanoid creatures are also delicious. She looked at the great wasteland city shrouded in black fog behind her and clapped her hands in satisfaction. But the next moment, she frowned again, and her body suddenly turned into mist and dissipated on the spot. Dong dong dong. 3 emerald green arrows appeared where Princess Misty had just stood, sank into the ground, and turned into 3 streams of green mucus. Come again. Princess Misty's body did not appear on the spot, and the mist she turned into poured into the great wasteland city. After Princess Misty went in, she found that the attacks did not continue. Want to force me back? Misty frowned, a little confused. It seems that my father and the others will be held back. She thought to herself. Emperor Woomian, who can hold him back? Currently, only the sun god. Even the chief of the Everfrizz Council can't do it. The previous chief was okay, but because he jumped happily, he was killed by Woomian early. And now, the sun god would not do such a thing. Who is it? Princess Misty felt even more uneasy. There are only so many open forces in the great wilderness, and it is easy to be targeted. From the Emperor Woomian to the King of Warcraft, they are all the supporters of the great wilderness. Although they are open forces, they are generally difficult to target. If you can beat the Emperor Woomian, wouldn't it be better to just occupy the abyss? You can also become the king, by the way. Come to build a small new city, the Great Wilderness City? Although the Great Wilderness City does have great potential, Nassen has more potential. Or, the Great Wilderness City is just a byproduct. Someone has figured out that the Emperor Wumian will be dragged down by some intelligent creatures or something and will not be able to take care of the great wilderness city, so he took this opportunity to sabotage it. Thinking of this, Princess Misty thought secretly, it is estimated that there are more than 5 nascent legends here, and there may even be those above level 25. Above level 25. Trouble. Princess Misty was a little anxious for a moment. Lin Ke told her that the Ratman monarch was the mastermind behind the killing of Orth. The foundation of the Holy Life Alliance is very deep, and even the Emperor Wumian will not easily go to war with the Sun God. It is possible that a few legends suddenly appear. The star world is so big, who knows how many legends of Nasan are hidden in it. The Princess of Mist came to the top of the Great Wilderness Tower and stamped her feet. Zion along. Let the residents stay at home and don't move. There may be beings above level 25 outside. Okay, your majesty. The dragon soul of the magma dragon emerged from the Great Wilderness Tower. The dragon soul of the magma dragon was found by Lin Ke in the small space of the iron mine. Now it has directly become the dragon soul of the Great Wilderness Tower. With the strength of this dragon soul, it can fully exert most of the power of the Great Wilderness Tower. The palm-sized magma dragon soul closed its eyes and transmitted the sound through the soul, which sounded throughout the Great Wilderness City. Attention, citizens. Please pay attention. Citizens, please pay attention. Level 1 alarm. Level 1 alarm. Please return to your homes to hide, keep your personal safety, and use protective shields if conditions permit. The shrill alarm sounded, and the citizens who were originally confused in the black fog became nervous in the next moment. The black fog faded in the next moment, allowing people to see Zizal clearly. At this time, a person quickly came up from the top of the Great Wilderness Tower and said anxiously, "Your Majesty the Mist, can your black fog be removed?" The person who came was Architect Velen. Velen was a little anxious. If the citizens act without good vision, it is very likely to be dangerous. It must be said that Velen, who was originally an old noble, not only did not look like the original noble at this time, but was concerned about the citizens, and was a member of the Workers' Association. No. Princess Misty shook her head. Now there may be legends above level 25 spying. We have to ensure most of Lin Ke's property. Princess Misty knew that only legends above level 25 could completely suppress her, or be besieged by a group of legends. If only level 24 can't do anything to her. Level 25. Velen's face turned pale. You go down and maintain the safety of the Great Wilderness Tower, Misty said, but suddenly his face changed. Outside the city, a train was pulled by 2 bloodthirsty iron bulls and was roaring. There were also bloodthirsty iron bulls and green water pythons escorting it. None of this was the key. The key was that one of the young men of the Star Glory level was flying over within Tower and Zio Nuomi in his arms. Where's Feudal? Princess Misty frowned and disappeared. There are other legends outside. She wants to go out and protect Tower and Zio Nuomi. To be honest, Princess Misty was actually very cold-hearted, but she had to say that. After living in the Great Wasteland City for only a period of time, she felt that she had changed slightly but significantly. Whether it was Tower and Zio Nuomi, or the passengers on that train, she had no choice but to save them. Outside, the 2 Warcraft kings seemed to sense the breath of other legends after approaching, and stopped instantly, looking back and forth vigilantly, protecting the unconscious Tower and the tense Zio Nuomi in the middle. The Star Glory level existence was Kingcha. It's bad. Seeing the situation in the Great Wasteland City, Kingcha's face became solemn and gloomy. It seemed that the presence of Tower and Zio Nuomi instantly attracted the legends hidden outside. Swish, swish, swish. A series of green arrows appeared out of thin air around the train and shot out. Moo. The bloodthirsty iron bull's body instantly turned into a metallic color, and it roared to the sky, with the blood and flesh of the strange legend it had killed, before on the corner of its mouth. The bloodthirsty iron bull's body grew larger, as if it had become a sculpture, and then stood directly above Kingcha. Those green arrows hit the bloodthirsty iron bull's body directly, and then dissipated. The green water python coiled into a snake formation and surrounded Kingcha. The Princess of Mist was just about to step out at this time, and 3 arrows formed by green mucus shot out. Fuck, you can really shoot. A part of the Princess of Mist's body was atomized, and the arrows sank into her body and disappeared. She swallowed it. It's really disgusting. Princess Misty frowned, spit a few times, and looked up at the sky. Come out, let me see who is so brave. The voice spread out, and several figures suddenly appeared in the sky. Mist Banshee, we don't want to be enemies with the Giller royal family, you go. The figures were blurry and their appearances could not be seen clearly. Hide your breath. You are hiding your head and showing your tail. Even the cowardly rat people can be monarchs now, but you dare not even show your breath. Misty raised her eyebrows and said sarcastically. The leader shook his head and sighed. Alas, it seems that we are destined to destroy the Giller royal family. Chapter 325 Lin Ke's backup plan. Destroy the Giller royal family? The Mist Princess chuckled. What a joke. Perhaps it could be selected as the best joke of the year in the wonderful land. The Mist Princess still had time to think about this. Well, then you go die first. The figure in the sky sighed again, with a sad face. The figure appeared, and he looked like a boy of 18 or 19 years old. Kill me. The Mist Banshee sneered, but became alert. She condensed her body, flipped her hand to take out a glass bottle from the space ring, raised her head and drank it, and then merged into the black mist again. Now, she has only one choice, which is to protect the Great Wasteland City. And Tower and the others outside can't be saved, otherwise she will be in danger. Because she doesn't know that man at all. The man looks similar to the humans in Asing, but his face is a little darker. Legend of the secondary plane? No, not like. The Mist Princess sensed that most people in the Great Wasteland City have already returned home, and only a few are still rushing home. As a result, the black fog in many places is thicker. At this time, the young man took a step forward, and the energy on his body began to boil, revealing his strength of level 25, and his aura was also exposed. Feljima. Princess Misty felt the aura of the young man and immediately shouted out the name. Feljima. This is the name of another continent. There are a total of 3 continents on the planet, where the Nasan continent is located. Nasan belongs to the main plane in the star world of the heavens. Although the other 2 continents are not as prosperous as Nasang, they are also main planes. The 3 continents do not invade each other. If you want to reach each other, you need to cross the vast ocean. One of the continents is the Feljima continent, also known as the Eternal Twilight continent. And Nasang is also known as the Void Abyss continent. Although there is no crystal wall between the 3 continents, there is a terrible storm over the ocean, which is generally difficult to pass. Princess Misty didn't know what the purpose of these people coming here was, but she knew that this young man must be the mastermind behind it. Level 25. The people in the 3 forest cabins before probably also turned against their side. I just don't know how many forces in the far west countries have surrendered. Alas, it's worthy of being called the Mist Banshee. What a pity. The young man still had a sad face, but he took out a dark wooden stick from the space ring and waved it gently. In an instant, 7 or 8 huge and terrifying wind blades gathered around the Great Wasteland City and then cut fiercely, directly splitting the space on the way, and a huge space crack appeared. Seeing these wind blades, the Mist Princess frowned and turned the order potion she had just drunk into energy and used it. Extreme fear. The whole body of the Mist Banshee was misted again. In the black fog above the entire Great Wasteland City within a radius of 100 miles, a female head with protruding cheekbones, sharp teeth, and only white eyes condensed, howling to the sky. Ancient Mist Banshee. This is the appearance of the ancient Mist Banshee. The blood of the Mist Princess is a Banshee blood taken from the Holy Life Alliance by Emperor Wumian and the Moon Goddess. In the mythological era, the Fairy Clan, one of the 5 Holy Life races in the Holy Life Alliance, had its leader, the Soul Fairy King, who was seriously injured, and his soul was transformed into 3 personalities. The Emerald Banshee, the Earth Fairy and the Crazy Elf. Except for the Crazy Elf, the Emerald Banshee and the Earth Fairy have bred a large number of offspring. The bloodlines of the Mist Banshee and the Tree Shepherd Banshee are among the many Banshee offspring of the Emerald Banshee. What is the core lore of the Mist Princess? It has never been illusion and fog. It is the unknown and fear. In many secondary planes, the Mist Princess is also a demon that shocks countless intelligent beings. However, she is not good at defense. Wow. The black fog covering the Great Wasteland City seemed to be elastic. Each of the 8 wind blades was hundreds of meters long. It could not be cut, but pressed. the Warcraft King, and the legends of the secondary planes in the sky also stop fighting, standing clearly in the sky inside and outside the Great Wasteland City. King Ke, who was leading an tower and Xiao Nuomi outside the city, was a little hesitant. The Great Wasteland City is so dangerous now, and it is not absolutely safe behind us. It is not appropriate to go anywhere now. It is too dangerous. Nassan has not had so many legends gathering for many years. The last time the legends gathered was during the Great Wall War of Azan, when a bunch of legends gathered. And now, there are more legends gathered. King Ke was also confused. It is already this time, why haven't the Emperor Wumian and others come yet? You know, the people from the Feljima continent are already considered foreign enemies. Facing foreign enemies, the rule of the Gila people has always been to attack in groups. There is no lord who is relatively independent, so there is no need to intervene. And just when King Ke was tense and ready to run away with the lady and Xiao Nuomi at any time, the Great Wasteland City was broken. When the young man from Feljima waved his hand again to materialize 5 wind blades that cut through the space, the originally tough black fog suddenly reached its limit and turned into the most ordinary fog. Puff! The figure of the Misty Princess appeared at the top of the Great Wasteland Tower again, spewing a large mouthful of blood, her face pale. She took out another bottle of order potion from her space ring and drank it, stabilizing her body that was collapsing. Her body had become an elemental body at level 15, but now it had suffered a lot of damage and was almost collapsing into a mist. She looked at the wind blade that was cutting down and once again mustered up the strength in her body, thinking about protecting as much as she could. To be honest, she wanted to protect the Great Wasteland City, not only because she was Lin Ke's relative. It was also because she actually liked this city from the bottom of her heart. It was not as vast as the Abyss, not even as vast as one of the layers of the Abyss, and not as powerful and populous as some big cities. But here, Misty felt that she lived a happy life. However, just when she was proud of herself, a steady voice came from the Great Wasteland City. Hey, it seems that you, little guy, are the one behind this. Although this voice was steady and ordinary, it spread throughout the city in an instant. At the same time, Misty suddenly felt that an extremely powerful aura burst out from a certain location in an instant. And just outside the Great Wasteland City, an extremely huge iron hammer phantom attacked directly above the Great Wasteland Tower. Boom. The sound was so loud that countless people hiding at home felt a tightness in their chests and a feeling of discomfort and nausea. However, the higher the level, the more they could feel the terrifying collision. Like the Mist Princess, when the sledgehammer hit the top of the Great Wilderness Tower, it seemed as if it collided with the wind blade. She felt as if the sky was about to collapse. However, the wind blade also dissipated in this blow. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.